They had already walked over the wine stain in the hallway, or the big spill of wine, and I showed them the bolt in the door. You could see looked like the bottom of a wine bottle. I took them into PH5 and showed them through. Their communication to me throughout was me just pointing things out to them. The Caucasian police officer pulled me outside solo. I can't say what happened internally, so I don't know whether anybody was in earshot, whether it was just Amber and the officer having a one-on-one, or whether there was anybody else around them. I don't know what was said either, specifically outside of what I might have heard secondhand, which has already been talked about ad nauseum.
You have in front of you, Mr. Drew, a series of photographs that we've marked as Drew 13. And I think I'm just going to take you through them one by one, if that's okay with you. And I'm going to ask you if you remember, if you can tell me what these photos are.
These are photos taken of her the night of the incident.
Who took the photos?
Some were taken by me, some were taken by Raquel.
And when you say the night of the incident,
May 21.
and are you sitting here today, can you distinguish which were taken by you and which were taken by?
No.
Were you present when they were all taken?
I can't say that definitively.
Okay. Were you present when photos were taken of Ms. Heard's face, like you see on the first page of this?
Yes.
And is this image of Ms. Heard's face on May 21 consistent with your recollection of what her face looked like?
Yes.
And am I correct that unlike, it's a little hard to see because there's shadow on the right, but unlike the prior incident that we looked at where there were photos, here the injury looks like it's mostly on one side.
Correct.
Let's look at the next photo. Tell me if you can remember, if you can identify what that is.
Oh God, the pictures. These are photographs.
Pictures pulled off the wall and placed onto their bed in their bedroom.
Let's go to the next photo where it's clearer. Do you recall seeing this on the night of May 21?
Yes, this is on the column in PH5 going up the stairs.
And there, the glass on the pictures were shattered.
Yes.
Starting with the first photo.
No, the glass on the picture is shattered.
Is that what Ms. Heard's face looked like when the police arrived?
Yes.
With the next photo of the pictures on the bed and the broken picture frame on the wall, did you show these to you personally show these to the first group of police officers that night?
Honestly, this one, I really can't say whether I did show them to the officers. I don't recall this.
Just so the record is clear, you're pointing to the photos on the bed.
Correct.
What about the photos on the wall?
The third photo, yes, I showed them personally.
For the photos on the wall, you had been in the apartment prior to this.
Yes.
Was the glass broken when you had last been in the
No.
apartment? Okay. Go to the next one.
Did you witness the glass being broken? No.
This is broken glass. I believe this is from the landing directly beneath the photo shown in the third photo.
And it's a landing on a staircase?
Yes.
Did you show, was that photo taken by either you or Rocky?
Yes.
Did you show that glass to the police officers who came, the first group of police officers who came that night?
Yes, I did.
Next photo. I take it even I can figure that out. That's the stairway, I
Yep.
think. And that photo was again taken by either you or Rocky?
Correct.
Was the broken glass on the stairway depicted in this photograph shown to the first group of police officers that night?
Yes, it was.
What's the next photo?
This is the hallway where there would have been spilled wine right outside the door of PH1.
And do you see spilled wine in this photo?
Yes.
Can you indicate for the record where that is?
Here and
Here.
here and here.
He's pointing to the sort of middle of the photograph on the right side. On the floor.
Oh my God.
On the stripes.
And was this a photograph taken by either you or your then wife?
Yes.
And did
Again,
the
all
police
this is-
officers, the first group of police officers who came,
All this is balanced
on
against
that
the police officers
would've
who
walked
looked
through it
Amber Heard in
before
the
they even
face
got
and
to
said,
the
"You
door."
don't look
But that's not
injured
something
to
you
me."
showed them.
No.
Last photo in the series.
I want to see him spread out like 6 photos, like a
Okay.
photo lineup, and ask him to identify
That
which
is
one is the
wine
vagina.
bottle and spilled
But he
wine on
can't
the
do
floor.
it.
Is this a photo that was taken by either you or Rocky?
Yes.
Is this something that you showed the first group of police officers that evening?
Yes.
Which apartment is this in?
I
You're
believe
going to arrest somebody for a wine spill?
We showed him the pictures of the spilled wine bottle, and then they
Which
didn't
one?
arrest him. It's weird.
in the living room.
We thought
As
for
I
sure
asked
that would
with
get him.
the other series of photos that we saw, first of all, are you aware of anyone who made any efforts to Photoshop or otherwise manipulate these photos to make the incident
To make them appear less pointless.
worse than they were?
Not to my knowledge.
Did you have any understanding that evening that looking at the first photo of Ms. Heard's face that anyone had somehow put makeup on her face to make it look like she had an injury under her eye?
No.
With respect to these photographs generally that we've looked at in Drew 13, was there any effort to stage the photographs in any way?
Absolutely
No, of course not.
Um,
I don't like these
do
bolstering
you
questions.
know how the
They don't make
photographs
sense.
got ultimately to Ms. Heard?
not. I do not.
So I think you testified earlier with Mr. Chu, Mr. Drew, so I'm rhyming here, that you were in contact in the building with Ms. Heard on the day of May 22nd.
Yes.
And I'll represent to you that the photos in Drew 14 were taken on that day. Sitting here today, do you know who took
Were
these
they?
photos?
Well, I hope John is getting paid for that Fiji bottle placement there.
It was either me or Raquel.
Is this consistent with your recollection of how Ms. Heard looked the next day on May 22nd?
Objection,
Yes.
lack of.
Did you see Ms. Heard's face on May 22nd?
Yes.
Did you or your ex-wife take photos of Ms. Heard's face on that day?
Yes. To my recollection.
And similar to questions I've asked in the past, was any effort made to stage those photos in any way?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Was any effort made to put makeup on Ms. Heard's face to make the injuries look redder or more serious?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Was any manipulation of the photos done, either using Photoshop or any other similar method?
Not to my knowledge, no.
I'm showing you a document that's been marked as Drew 18. I'm directing your attention to the photos there and asking if you can identify where these photos were taken.
The photo on the first page,
Violence against the clothing rack
honestly,
has
I'm not
occurred.
sure. I don't really remember which stairwell this was from which penthouse.
Each penthouse had a stairwell.
Yes.
Next one.
Both of these photos are taken from PH5 where Amber's closet was located. Or what Amber used as her closet, I should say.
She had a whole penthouse for a closet.
Next page.
Yep.
Same thing.
Oh my
Amber's
God.
closet.
Same thing.
Next page, at least the top one.
Top one, same.
Bottom photo on that page.
Bottom photo is taken from, it looks like it's taken from the landing on the stairwell of PH5 towards the kitchen, towards
Is
the
it
Broadway
possible
side.
that Amber Heard did this damage herself? No.
And the next page just seems like similar copies. Were you ever made aware, Mr. Drew, of anyone destroying Amber Heard's closet this way?
Not to my knowledge.
Are you aware of any efforts between and among Rocky Pennington,
Damn, it's 5:30 there now. They've been there a
Io
long
Tillett.
time.
Melanie Iglesias, Elizabeth Mars, or Amanda DeCadenet to, quote, get their story straight?
Not to my knowledge.
Have you had any outreach from any of those people that I just mentioned to you to coordinate your story or your recollection or your testimony about the things you've testified here today?
No. I did receive a phone call from IO, I want to say maybe 3 months ago
But they were talking about the ball,
to
not
catch
about
up.
the depositions.
And did you discuss during
You
that
also
whole
talked to
conversation
Amber Heard.
your recollection of the events that we've been discussing?
No.
today?
You testified that the dogs were too small to climb the stairs. Is that
Correct.
correct? And if the dogs, in fact, were too small to climb the stairs, how would they be able to jump on the bed?
One of them was not.
So it's your testimony that one of the dogs had the ability to climb the stairs and jump on the bed, and the other had neither.
Correct.
Oh, thank God.
Ladies and gentlemen, that completes the testimony of that witness. So we'll go ahead and have our lunch break. Again, during your hour lunch break, do not discuss the case with anybody and don't do any outside research, okay? Thank you. We'll see you in an hour.
All right. I believe Runkle is going to pop on here when he gets out of the courtroom. We can get his idea about the jury. He's tweeted a little bit about it. I hate video depositions. Or watching them as testimony. I hate it.
All right, so we'll come back at 1:45 then. Is that fine? Okay, live witness at 1:45, so we'll take it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Oh, finally some life in this courtroom.
That's just when my webinar starts. I won't be here for that. I'll try to join after.
R.I.P. to you. Wait, what time's your webinar start?
2 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay, yeah. So that'll not work. Well, you were here for the boring stuff at least.
Yeah.
So
I had fun regardless.
any I guess any opinion on the video deposition testimony? I mean, did you
Again, nobody saw anything. I mean, nobody saw any act of violence. Nobody saw anybody striking anybody. Nobody saw anything except a bunch of stuff knocked over, things that were spilled that anybody could have done, things that were not broken, just in disarray. I mean, the whole thing is insane. A little pimple from someone who punched her in the face so many times she lost count with a fistful of rings. And there's no evidence of any of this.
But have you considered that there was a display of soy-based rage on the video deposition? And I'm sorry, like I cannot get over the dudes are like, oh, if I was there, man, things would have gone way different.
If it wasn't for his bodyguards,
we'd have a different conversation. He'd be dead, and I would have murdered him. Now I'd be on trial, but those ladies would have been safe. Like, come on, buddy. He came at you and he screamed in your face when you did this, and you walked away. Like you weren't going to do anything because normal people don't do anything in that situation. Stop acting like you're not just a random guy who shops at Urban Outfitters or whatever. I mean, come on. Ugh. Yeah. I hate those depositions with unbridled passion. I don't think they're useful. I don't think the jury cares. They're not able to identify with the person. I know they have to get some facts in for closing argument or whatever, but I feel like we really didn't get anything new. What their closing argument is going to be is you heard testimony from Amber Heard, from Raquel Pennington, from soy guy whose name I don't remember, from so-and-so. You heard all these people corroborate the same story. And yet they didn't hear them corroborate any story actually,
right.
Because
let's talk about what you didn't hear.
Yeah. And that's the counter. So it's just this boring thing. Actually, Johnny Depp's counter is you heard that Amber Heard has perpetrated domestic violence against a former partner. You heard that Amber Heard that was
sufficient to get arrested.
Be great. Well, they couldn't say that. They couldn't get the arrest in, unfortunately. But sufficient for an article because it was witnessed in public and reported on in public.
Well, Amber did tell them to look her up on the internet.
Yeah. You know that Amber Heard has admitted to hitting Johnny Depp several times, and you know that Johnny Depp has admitted to hitting her zero. So every time you hear about domestic violence, domestic assault, domestic abuse, know that there's nothing in the record. No one could put in the record that Johnny Depp struck Amber Heard except Amber Heard. She's the only one who could possibly claim it because nobody else saw it. We'll see how it goes. I've got more chats here, of course. Walter Deadman says, why is Rocky dressed as Mr. Furley from Three's Company? Can no one dress themselves properly? Nathaniel Curry, I pledged to like this video, Nikki, but unlike Turd, I'm donating it now. Remember, chat, if you're watching, you ought to go ahead and smash the like button with your nose. Hey, thank you. Sky News is now just playing the arrival of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp again. Oh, let's hear what happens when she gets out, though. This might be funny. Oh, I better turn it down.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Good morning. Good morning.
They don't seem overly friendly.
I think that's the first time she said good morning to them.
Oh my
here-
God.
Here comes Johnny Depp. I have this turned way down because of this. It's that Michael Jackson moment, right? When Michael Jackson showed up for his trial, he stands up on his car and does this or whatever, and the
Look at a
crowd just
bodyguard being all pro, stepping out while it's still rolling. Got to protect Johnny from that blizzard of panties that's coming in. I love you, Johnny. Oh, he's got a rose.
He's waving at people from up above.
Anyway, I brought this for you.
Who's this lady?
Thank you.
Again, the difference is in charisma is astounding. But I mean, that's what. Whoops. That's why he's Johnny Depp, and that's been one of their biggest hurdles. There's no way to eliminate it. The jury will experience the same thing to some degree, not because they're not seeing this stuff. They're out of the room when he waves to the gallery and everybody. The judge is very controlling, but it doesn't matter. There's just a presence that people have about them, and A-list celebrities tend to be surface level, at least likable. That's very, very dangerous for the other party. Amber Heard is not, which is weird. She should be. She is pretty enough to be eminently likable, but she just comes across as cold. Let's see. Light B says everyone's saying they'd smash Raquel, go directly to horny jail. I didn't find her particularly attractive, but Alex A, sometimes they would come back, sometimes they wouldn't come back. And when she came back, she had these lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a dog's eyes. Clifford McLarty, Amber Heard needs to take acting lessons from Rocky. At least she can cry. Lancelot, I miss Isaac. He was the only one of these people that acted like a human, and he was believable.
Concur.
He's great. And again, notice they got him there in person. He was willing to come out from Los Angeles or wherever he lives now to Virginia and testify. Runkle,
Hey, how you doing?
good man. How's it going?
Oh, I am really tired. It's,
I bet you are. But you didn't have to get there till 1 a.m. this time.
no, I was there at 6:30 p.m.
I thought they posted a note that you couldn't line up till 1.
Yeah, except that by 1 a.m., all 100 spots were spoken for.
Oh, okay.
So you just can't line up in front of the actual courthouse itself.
You just
now
have to
I
line
gotta
up
move.
elsewhere.
I got to move a little here.
You about to get thrown off for loitering?
No, other reasons. Just 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh, God, I want to know the other reasons. Is he being hounded by a bunch of fangirls? That'd be funny. Oh, maybe it's the Orukan.
We love you, Runko.
Saruman found him. Saruman the White. Josh says, day late. Congrats for 400,000 subs. Really dig the streams and LawTube friends, and looking forward to you on Slightly Offensive soon. Yeah, that'll be fun. Oh, welcome back, Runkle. Oh, now his video's frozen. He's killed. He is killed.
I am back. I
Okay,
have
there
to
we
find
go.
a suitable place and also has reception. Okay, good. All right. So, yeah, that was interesting. It's been an interesting day for the whole trial.
It's been exceedingly
Well-
boring from this end. What's the jury doing?
Well, the jury has been very tired, and they've been yawning, a lot of yawning, in fact, from several of them. I think this last witness, though, was not a great moment for Depp.
Oh, here, let me turn you up. Okay, so you think that this witness was
Last,
effective
video
for Amber Heard?
deposition witness.
Yeah, with the weird
'Cause
guy, like the
there
Nick
were a
Offerman
lot of
looking
people
guy.
who started taking.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Damn. I'm assuming you're saying started taking notes, but your video is so choppy right now.
Of note taking, so forth, because there's not that many spots with great reception, and at least one of them is a definite no-go.
If you stay like right where you are,
So-
you're good.
Okay, I will try to stay right where I am. All right, so yeah, I mean, when he started talking, juror I was watching, the screen intently where they're showing it up. There was juror B was writing, and there was a lot of writing when he said he never saw Depp hit her. Juror D, who apparently has glasses occasionally. She has never put them on before. But today there was a couple of moments where, and this was one of them, she put her glasses on, was writing stuff down, takes her
Okay.
glasses off in about a minute after that. So, and there was a lot of interest when they mentioned that she reached out to make amends.
So you think that was bad for Depp?
Oh, fair enough. Sorry, I got to keep moving a little further here.
No worries. See, because the things you're telling me that there's interest when that Amber Heard reached out to make amends, that doesn't seem good for Amber Heard to me. That sounds like a good thing for Depp. Like, because I'm suspicious of that immediately.
It is. The problem is that they kept their interest through the remaining bits. So,
okay, I got
and
you.
then yeah, I mean, he sort of initially comes out and starts off sort of seeming like a pretty great shooter, great dealer. So that establishes his credibility a bit. And then, of course, things get worse in terms of what he's providing, what he's testifying to. So there was a lot of sort of continued interest there. And I mean, he was also charismatic when he gets around to the "actually I do remember" line. There's laughter from the gallery and so forth. But as things got more into the deeper matters, I mean, I could see the gallery, who were mostly like really strong, supporters for the one side, looking really
Right.
unhappy. And in fact, some of them got up to leave early to go for lunch. They just didn't want to hear
Sure.
it. So that was not great. The other two, I don't think, scored any real hits. The other two were just kind of there. And in fact, it seemed like the jurors were mostly just kind of tuned out from that. So that was it. Yeah, there were people yawning, all of them. They were just, seemed like they were just exhausted, to be honest. Juror A,
Yeah.
a lot of the time, he was focusing, he's got a really sore neck apparently. A lot of the time he's sort of rubbing his neck and rolling his head and sort of trying to uncrack his back. I don't think he was paying any attention, but he stopped for Mr. Drew. So
Sure.
I think there was some, some real issues there in terms of him paying attention to that one witness. We had, at the start of it, they basically just seemed like they were annoyed that they still had to be there. Like, why does this have to continue? Why are we still having more trial?
Well,
I think
after
there might be more.
yesterday- Okay, so if you think that the jurors are annoyed that or questioning why they're still having more trial after yesterday, do you think the jurors are firmly on the side of Johnny Depp? And that's what I would have to infer. I mean, yesterday was such a knockout.
That was kind of that's been my impression, is that they're pretty, but I think that was eroded a bit today with Mr. Drew. So
Sure.
up, like, had they not had him, I think that we'd still be seeing jurors basically going, are we still like actually doing this? Why do we still have to be here? Can't we just go home? This is over and done. I think he's given some new life to things, and that's gonna make things interesting. So
Yeah.
but
Well,
we'll have to
I'll
see
be
ultimately. But
yeah, I'll be curious how the rest of the day goes, since we have a live witness next, which I mean, these video depositions are killer boring. So having the live person will be so much better.
try doing them on 3 hours of sleep.
I am. No, I'm with you.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, I literally slept on the sidewalk in front of the courthouse today for about 3 hours. And yeah, I'm feeling that. That made it real rough to get through those video depositions. And I feel
don't
like
know how you can do it. At least have a chat, right?
yeah, well, and I don't know, like, the jurors seemed even more tired than I was. They were just, and I'm like, don't they get to go home and just sleep? Like, they're not streaming or anything. They could go home and have a rest. But there was a lot of yawning from several of them. So the other thing I sort of noticed is that in terms of the pacing, these video depositions, I think, actually kind of hurt Depp's team. And that's because they tend to score on these objections, and all the objections are edited out. So sometimes you can hear a tiny fragment up and then it cuts out. And so the jury's not actually seeing this whole pantomime of these objections landing or not landing. And I feel like that actually kind of is reducing their effectiveness, because they've been so good with that.
Well, and this Drew guy had several instances of inadmissible hearsay. If this were in court, that would not, I mean, that would not have flown, but they made it into the edit for whatever reason. But I mean, I
wonder if they did better on their, like, on the responses to objections when they were doing it in writing and so forth. Or having more time to discuss. Maybe they're just not as good at thinking on their feet. But like, there was a point when I actually noticed that one of the jurors appeared to take a brief, like, 2-minute nap. Like, he just closed his eyes, rolled his head over onto his shoulder, and was literally immobile for a few minutes. And then he sort of springs his eyes open again and kind of turns back in the game, thinking, okay, that's not a juror who thinks that this is still a live game, right? This is not somebody who thinks that they're in the, they're still watching an active hearing.
Right.
So, but that changed. I mean, they were paying a lot more attention with Mr. Drew. So,
well, he was.
I wonder how that's going to.
Just in general, he was more charismatic than Rocky. I mean, Rocky's testimony was so slow and labored at the beginning. I mean, she perked up a little bit when Amber's team was questioning her, but it was uninteresting. She's very flat. He was at least dynamic. He smiled. He seemed like he had energy. So I think that, I think just his presence would engage people more than Rocky's did.
Well, and he also comes off as more of an honest dealer. And there was a lot of places where Rocky comes off as, like, really mercenary and really self-interested, whereas he comes off as, hey, I'm just, what do you call it?
I'm just a guy who was there.
I just want to tell the truth, and I just, he says things like, well, I know this now, but I didn't at the time, and that was your question, so I'm going to go with no. And it's kind of a clear answer, and he's saying, I just want to address this properly. He doesn't do any of this fighting with them stuff. He just answers the questions that are being asked. He's never combative or, I thought he was a really good witness in a, which is a problem for if you're looking, if you're convinced that Amber Heard is, making this stuff up. So that's, I am sort of adjusting my my odds calculation substantially as a result of that. I thought the
So
jury was absolutely kind of
what's your odds calculation at now?
40-50 or 40 or 50, and that's down from 70 when I was streaming earlier this morning. The
Okay.
jury just seemed to be really paying attention to him, and he was a bad witness to be paying a lot of attention to, especially I noticed some people kind of looking up when he said, I'm a victim of domestic violence too. I saw some jurors sort of go and sort of do the head turn, and I was just like, I don't, that's not a place for a head turn if you're that's a damaging head turn.
Yeah, I don't know. I read his, I'm not reading the jury, but I just read his testimony completely differently. I found it not particularly non-credible, but I just didn't find it that persuasive or damaging on the issues. Cause I'm looking at this, I'm going, okay, so he still didn't witness anything at all that happened in these apartments. And we've just got him seemingly taking care of friends that he sees is in a bad situation. But I don't see like where any facts come in that sway me. But I'm watching this from the outside. I'm not a juror. So.
And that's the thing is, I think that if this was a judge trial, that would be absolutely this. I'd be less concerned because a lot of this is kind of rumor and innuendo kind of thing. It's, they go off and then she's got these bruises and where do they come from?
Right.
But juries don't tend to think that way. Juries don't tend to think, in terms of doubt necessarily. They think in what is the narrative? And I think it bolsters the narrative. I don't think it's over. I'm not saying anything like that. When I say the odds have dropped to 40-50, I mean, that's still very much an open place, and it's better than where things were along. Amber Heard's testimony is still a huge drag. And
Right.
that was, I think, another sort of thought on things is that he's got a little bit more distance from Heard, which is to his benefit, because the others we didn't really hear about how they're alienated. And so the Heard's sort of stink rubs off on them as opposed to their testimony helping her in some real way. They come off worse for standing with her. But yeah, I mean, the gallery was not looking happy about that last witness, and they were a lot more pleased about the previous two.
Sure.
So, and I think the gallery is a pretty good metric of kind of what the jury is likely thinking. Unfortunately, we've got a jury that's very poker faced. There's like one guy who's kind of an attention canary in that when things are boring, he just tunes out very visibly.
Sure.
And like to the point where he'll just drop his head down and actually look like he's just doesn't care at all. He's got his head down. He's having not really a nap, but he's just not thinking about it at all. Or, and he's actually relying on a sort of an assistive device. He'll actually take it out of his ears at points. And I mean, that doesn't, that really, how can you have a more clear indicator that you just don't care what's happening than not even listening to it anymore?
Right,
but he wasn't doing that during the last witness.
Yeah,
that's at least they were paying attention to him.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I'm curious what they get out of it, because these jurors have also sat through the police officer's testimony that they look, and I mean, they saw her on the night and they say no injury. They look at they go through the pictures on each of those depositions and they go, yeah, no injury. And it's the same pictures that they're showing for Rocky Pennington and this guy. And so I'm curious how the jurors weighed that out. I mean, that we won't know, obviously, but who do they
Well,
believe?
in the one line that I also thought was a pretty heavy line, and we might see sort of them making more of later, was well, if those pictures were edited, that might change my opinion dramatically. He makes a comment like that. And I mean, we know at least one set of pictures is one real picture and one photo edited picture.
Right.
There is no way that you end up with those being two separate pictures. They are I haven't been able to post the video of it, but I overlaid them and they're the same picture, like 100% the same picture to start with color and so forth manipulated. So,
a guy sent me a guy sent me a video of them going back, like of it just switching between the two back and forth, and it's clearly identical pictures.
So they can say, listen, if they can establish that these are edited pictures like that, they can say, listen, his whole opinion, he said he'd change it if he knew those were edited pictures. We know they're edited pictures. What good is... So, I mean, that might be a way that they can deal with it, but that's kind of my thoughts there. It's really been an interesting day, notwithstanding the fact that we're dealing with some of the most boring kinds of testimony imaginable. But I guess any sort of questions you got here?
I mean, you're the main questions I have is what the jury's doing, which you've been very informative on. I think it's interesting to see that they perked up the gallery. Listening to you, I'm warring with myself on like trying to argue because I have a bias, right? I have a bias towards Johnny Depp from what I've witnessed and my initial opinions on it. So like when you say, well, the gallery isn't having it, I'm going, well, if I'm in the gallery and another video deposition comes, all I want to do is go and leave the gallery to find a bullet as fast as possible. So I reflexively read that differently, but again, I'm trying to be more observant and eliminate that. So I'm trying not to just like throw up counters for everything.
The people who were there sort of had a pretty cheerful mood going in, and through the past two witnesses, they were looking like somebody kicked their puppy, and that's kind of my thought there is. And I mean, sure, some people were probably going, you know what, I'd just rather get lunch because this is roll tape, but I don't think they were happy with what they were hearing.
What about the council teams at each table? Any read off of them or Amber or Johnny? When things
Amber has been. I'm right behind Amber, so all I can see is like the side of her hair. Her hair today is very much kind of a wall of. So even when she turns to face Elaine, I see a bit of her nose. Johnny's been very, sort of his usual thing of sort of eyes down, looking forward.
Right.
There was an interesting moment when they come in because there'd been some discussion of tension online, and frankly, I'd seen tension. And Elaine and her shared a hug and some warm
performative hug. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking like, this looks a little too obvious because they met in council chambers, but like they would have been hanging out beforehand. Why are they coming out to have this big hug?
Yeah, they're clearly monitoring the social media image of the trial, like which of course they should.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you kind of just know what happened there. That is what it is. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go. No, I was going to say, that was entirely performative. That's all I was going to add.
Yeah, that was kind of my read on it as well. But anyway, I should let you go here. I've got like everybody who is streaming has a request for me to pin at least briefly. So I'm going to try to do some of the rounds.
No, I very much appreciate you coming on, man. Thanks for what you're doing. I know
eventually pop on and do a stream and sort of discuss it.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, guys, check out Runkle of the Bailey's channel. Thanks for popping in, buddy. You're really breaking up, but yeah, we'll hopefully see you soon. Thanks for sleeping on the street. you madman.
Yeah, I was like, well, I guess I'm homeless now. It's a bit of a weird moment, but I'm just like laying out a side. I'll talk about that later. Anyway, talk to you in a
All right,
bit.
buddy. Peace.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Thought I was muted.
You weren't. We heard you. We heard all those nasty things you said. Okay, I'll remove him from the stream. I think he's having trouble even disconnecting. The reception there around the courthouse is clearly terrible. But okay, so what's your opinion on Runkle's feedback?
I mean, it's hard to have an opinion. He's there. I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, I can only respond to what I see. And what I see is not consistent with what he's sharing with us. But of course, he has a unique perspective. He's actually seeing the gallery. He's seeing the jurors. I mean, I have to respect that. He's in a position where I'm not. It doesn't mean I necessarily agree with that take, but it's hard to substantively disagree because I don't share that perspective.
Right. And reading juries, expressions and reactions is a bit of tea leaf reading. I mean, because so one of the things, and this is not criticism, right? Runkle has a limited set of information that he's able to garner from these people. But when you think about it, well, they looked up and started writing something down. Well, that could be interpreted two ways. Well, probably more, but two obvious ways. Oh, they're really interested in what's being said, or they're saying this doesn't jive with what I saw earlier. So now I want to look into it in a different way. Or they're critical and they say, no, I don't believe this thing. Don't trust this person. You never know how any of that goes. And so I think the most interesting and useful analysis that the guys in the courtroom are able to pull is when people are paying attention visibly and not. I think that is the best sort of information we can get here. And finding out that people were checked out completely during Rocky's testimony is unsurprising. She was not dynamic in any way. It was very hard to get through. Finding out that they paid attention to Josh Drew, a little bit less of a surprise. And whoever edited that video, I mean, they got his testimony out like from both sides in 45 minutes to an hour. That's quick. I mean, that was the smart move.
Answering questions in a timely fashion, right? They'd ask a question, he'd say yes, no. It wasn't this long.
Right.
Well, no.
Yeah, that because that's horrifying, and it. I don't know why people do that, but and the worst is when they'll answer 10 questions in breakneck speed, and then and it's like, okay, well, that's a no then. Like, because if it was consistent with all the other answers, it'd just be the same. You just snap it out.
But again, this guy too, I mean, whatever we may think of him in terms of, I don't know, his presentation, he didn't see Johnny strike anybody.
Right. And that's always the catch. And I think Runkle, to draw minor criticism to his valuation of chances, I think he's heavily weighting this witness against the key witness, which is Amber Heard. And if after Amber Heard's testimony, you're thinking slam dunk win, and then undoing it entirely because of this one witness, I think that's to give a lot of weight to someone who's not in the courtroom, that the jury is not able to identify with and is not a party to the case. So,
but listen, I mean, there's a reason I don't predict jury verdicts, and that's because juries can be insane. I mean, they're dangerous and unpredictable creatures. You never really know what they're going to do until they return a verdict. So, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked out of my mind if they returned a verdict against Johnny Depp here. It would be unjust, in my opinion, but it's certainly possible. But even if they do, he still won. I mean, in every substantive sense, he's won.
Okay, I'll put up a poll after this morning. How do I poll this? That's the question. Morning testimony. Are you persuaded towards Amber Heard more than before? I think that's the fair question. No matter where you were on the spectrum of support for Johnny Depp or Amber Heard, are you now towards Amber Heard more after the testimony this morning? I hope that's clear. That's for the poll. Because if I just say, do you believe Johnny Depp or Amber Heard, we're going to get 97.3 like we do every day. And so I think this is more useful, although early results are unpromising for Amber Heard. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's a tough thing to pull. But I appreciate Runkle's feedback. Again, he's there in the courtroom. Those guys, I mean, going out there, not catching me sleeping on a damn street in Fairfax County, Virginia, to get into a courtroom. Oh, kill me. Whew. My hat's off to them every single time for doing that. That would be. And then go sitting in that stinky, sweaty courtroom full of people who haven't showered. God.
Right. Everybody's been in line since
Yeah.
yesterday.
Everybody's been sitting on the street. They may have run home between, because he's been there since 6 p.m. He said, like, so court ended at 5:30. He went and got a meal and then went back in line. I mean, what do you do? That's crazy town. Billy Witch Doctor 99. Amber's split lip looks to be about the same severity as that cut on Chandler Halderson's foot. Congrats on 400K, Nikki. Hey, thank you. Thank you very much. Bhavana Shiva Kumar says, how does she tie up her hair in evidence? Is she not in pain from chunks of hair being pulled out? The area was scarred, allegedly. Yeah, I still don't see a scalp injury at all. I've mentioned this before. I get a very dry scalp on season changes and through a lot of the winter. And if if I'm absent-minded about it, I'll scratch. You start scratching because it itches, it gets dry. And when I do that, I will often leave red marks in my scalp because, well, your head hurts and itches, so you'll scratch. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like a scrape or a scratch that you would get from something like that. It did not look like hair had been ripped out of her head. Again, hair being pulled out, the bruising is disgusting. And you're not makeuping and concealing a bruise on your scalp.
That photograph of her scalp looks like the kind of photograph you would introduce into evidence to show that there was no injury.
Yes. Yeah. It's Johnny Depp's team had to be delighted having that as the as the evidence against them. Beth says the one photo in front of the fridge has a January 2015 calendar on it, but yet it's from December 2015. Look, I don't give too much weight to the calendar thing because people put weird stuff on their fridge. It's not indicative of any date. The questions that people have related to the metadata will probably go unanswered in the courtroom, but there's metadata suggesting a 3-day picture period for all these photos that were purportedly taken on the same night. So that's a problem or could be a problem if it's addressed. But again, in my opinion, going to a jury in a trial like this with a bunch of metadata on pictures, you're looking at a snooze fest of an expert that's going to take a lot of time, and you may not really get any progress out of it. So that's my opinion. Some people would disagree. But the internet gets to do all that research for you guys, and that's the most important part. You can go find all sorts of analysis about the metadata. But one alternative is if they did adjust the color saturation, for example, which I think they did on some of these photos. If you color saturate a photo, it saves a copy that'll generate new metadata. So that's a simple explanation. If they go in and say, oh yeah, we need to adjust the lighting, the brightness, contrast, and saturation on this photo, then you'll have a new saved result with new metadata that could be a day or two later. So that's an Occam's razor explanation as to why you would have that rather than having pictures taken over multiple days, potentially, is that there was some minor adjustments done. That's not okay. For the record, that's not an okay thing without disclosure of what adjustments were done so that the adjustments could be undone specifically with repeatable methods. But that would explain some things. Brendan Conway, I heard that you and Brittany Venti tag teamed Ralph's dead mom. No one gets that mad over a shart. That must have been it. Ron White, wow, I just realized Amber Heard's hair is down and more blonde showing to match the hair allegedly pulled out. Thoughts? I don't know if it's to match the hair pulled out. I think she just looks like a female today, which I think is a good benefit for her.
Right.
And
Not a prison guard.
I can't believe they didn't have her looking like this the entire trial. I mean, frankly, she's attractive today, but not overtly so. It's the look that I've been saying she should have had the whole time. Like, you need to look like a woman, but not like overly sexy, and not obviously conservative. She just looks good. That's how she should be pulling this off every day. Todd Goucher, how can a judge not allow the police report in yesterday of Amber Heard's domestic violence against her ex in Seattle? What are the rules concerning that? Well, the big hurdle is that no matter what happened yesterday, there was never an actual conviction. That makes it very hard. In fact, the case was dropped because the alleged victim did not want to cooperate and pursue the action. So,
In fact, I think she made a statement saying that it didn't happen, basically.
Right. Now, the counter argument to that statement would be this wasn't based on a phone call where a cop shows up blind. Cop witnessed the incident and made the arrest based on their observations. That would be in the police report. But when you have a non-conviction, we have a presumption of innocence. And so we can't use a police officer's observations as a presumption of guilt. It's highly, highly prejudicial for that to happen. Now, if they'd somehow gotten or get in the weeds on this police officer, like somehow someone on Amber's team testifies in some way to get into that police report and they open that up, that's a different story. But until then, they're not going to let the police report in because police reports have weight to them, undue weight, in my opinion, but they get weight. And if you say, oh, you've been arrested for domestic violence, whether you're convicted or not, you're guilty in the eyes of several people. So that's actually the whole point of this case for Johnny Depp in a way. So that's why it doesn't get to come in. There are ways that it could come in, but those, as each day goes by, those are dwindling by the minute. And I don't think we should expect it. How they got the headline in yesterday and when they put it there, that was about as good as it could have been done. They closed out the testimony with it. Camille had the pointed question. Johnny Depp's not the only domestic partner you've abused, is he? And it was boom. That's the mic drop. She can say no all day, but the jury's all thinking it. They just heard about a news article talking about this thing. And that's what you got. So they did very well. Felipe Movie. Richie, did you read about what Kevin Costner allegedly said about Amber Heard entering his trailer naked after she broke up with Johnny Depp? I did read a little bit about that. So good job, Kevin Costner, for saying be gone thought to that one. Keon says, during Cross yesterday, there was a side-by-side of two photos of Amber's bruise on her cheek. Were they in different positions on her face? One picture seems to show the bruise higher up than the other. I
think those were the ones with different coloration, right? One was redder, one was paler. The same photo.
Yeah. If it's that one, it's the exact same picture. Like you can do the Pam from The Office meme. It's the same picture. One just has the colors drawn out. And I mean, one, her skin is yellowish, orangish, more lively, and the other it's very pale, cold lighting, without any sort of photo filter on. And you get in a room with the wrong white balance, that's what you get. So those two, but the bruise looks higher up just because where the bruise, I mean, just the more color that you get out of it brings up more. But you can do this on your iPhone too, ladies and gentlemen. Run up and down your steps in your house 15 times, take a picture of your face and adjust the color saturation and see what happens to your cheeks. You'll see a similar effect. Squirrel Knight, hey Nick, could you say one of your beautiful obituaries for my mother-in-law Ingrid, please? Which ain't dead yet, but I have a really bad day and need a little lift up. To Ingrid, the mother-in-law, the interferer, the the bringer of misery, the event ruiner, and the perpetually unwelcome guest of Squirrel Night. May she be pledged to rotten hell. Get there today. Good luck, buddy. My mother-in-law is actually delightful, but I know that's a pretty common sentiment, and there's not shit you can do about it. Timothy Reapers' poll idea is Rocky a better actress than Amber? Now, come on. I don't want to do that to Amber. That's mean. That's mean. She'll get a restraining order against me for that poll. Funeral Man 04 prediction: in 10 years, Amber will only be able to get roles as a B honor slasher victim, surrounded by 50 cats. Elaine will enjoy retirement watching those B horror movies with Amber's death scenes on repeat. She's only qualifies really for B horror movies now. I think the cheek fills, the cheek implants that she got have messed up her face. Personally, I think the gaunt look, it's not for everybody, but I think it was a better look for her. I think the way her face is filled out is not doing her any favors. To me, I mean, donated.
She's
not
had
pledged.
that work. Just based on appearance.
It's highly speculated. I think. I'm not sure if there's any official testimony to it, or not in this case, but maybe in some other case. I'm not sure.
I mean, it definitely seems. So I've seen her. I don't really know her at all. So really, my exposure is in the courtroom, and everyone says how beautiful she is, and today she looks pretty good, but typically she hasn't looked that exceptional to me. But then I see photos of her from like when she was married to Johnny 5 years ago. She looks much more attractive there. So maybe it is the cheek implants that make the difference.
Her red carpet appearances and stuff. She's wearing very nice dresses. She looks great. That's interestingly, some of those pictures were taken after nights of horrific abuse, apparently, but never a mark. But no, I mean, she definitely used to look good, and that's fine, by the way. But that just goes to show, if you don't have the acting chops to back up your marketability as a female actress, and maybe this isn't fair, then your value is gonna decline. I mean, the older you get.
Yeah, and by the way, anyone who's like been to LA, you walk around LA and the streets are thick with people who look at least that good.
Yes, because they're all trying to be her. They're all trying to get into some role. And that's their business, is to look good.
You go into a typical bar or restaurant, and like all the wait staff are in the top 1% of looks. I mean, they're all gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Shado, if Johnny Depp's personal property wants to claim insert type abuse, then that's fine. But the rest of this is absolutely ridiculous. Sheepsidian, Herd's camp speaks like Herd. Johnny's camp speak like a dysfunctional family. One side's a lot more genuine. By the way, Nick, can I get you on my show at some point? Where do I send the email? My email address is in the bottom of every live stream. Ricadalaw@ricada.com. .org. Sorry, not com. Ricadalaw@ricada.org. I try to answer some of them, but I don't get to all. Let's see. Where is... Oh, I wanted to... Sorry, I'm supposed to say something here. Just real quick, to Kimberly and the Elliot Davis crew, glad we can make you smile. Thanks for watching. That's for Kimberly and the Elliot Davis crew. Hope you guys are having fun watching the show. Crew Glove says, so she can't tell what's on the picture, but can confidently claim that that's exactly what she saw. Yes. That's one of those fun things. I can't tell what that is. Is this an accurate representation? Yeah. Oh, okay. Burnt Umbrage. How infuriating would it be after enduring 4 years of Amber Heard only to be confronted by all the vipers you've been paying to surround you and suck you dry? The May incident with RP, etc. Well, yeah, I mean, Johnny Depp paid for all these people to live in what I jokingly called a hippie commune, but think about it. He gave master keys to all these people. It was like open door to any apartment, just go in and out and walk around. Amber, her sister Whitney, her best friend, Isaac Baruch, everybody's just going through all these places. It's very weird. It's hard for me to imagine. I like privacy too much for that, but and then to have all these people claim that he did this, and that's what makes their testimony powerful at all, right? Is that they're there, he did pay for them. So how could they possibly be motivated against him is a question. But it's, I don't know.
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, they're not there anymore, right? They were living that
Right.
life and now they're not.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now they have to pay for their houses. Now
They're
they have
back
to
in
pay
the $1,100 a month apartment they were living in before.
right. Wait, you think this guy's hospitality business is not just booming?
Wasn't he a hospitality consultant?
Yeah, Joshua
Like not even a business.
Drew hospitality. Let's see. Greenwood Advisory LLC. Is this him?
I hope it's not a hand tattoo
That's him.
advisory business.
No, it's a hospitality development consultant in Los Angeles, California. It took a while. Finally added the name and logo of my company, Sunstone Trust, to the Irvin skyline. Wait, what? Oh no, that was liked by Joshua Drew. I was like, wait, he's got his company name on a building. Okay, so no, he's done Greenwood Advisory for 2 years and 8 months. Prior to that, he worked at a bakery for 3 years and 10 months, Tartine Bakery. He was the VP of Restaurant Development and Director of Restaurant Development. And then he was a consulting chef for Sprout, an executive chef for Farm Shop, sous chef for Ad Hoc Restaurant, line cook, Vitri Osteria. So when he's with Johnny Depp, he's a consulting chef, and then moving into Director of Restaurant Development.
That means all that means nothing.
Yeah.
As a guy who's worked in the industry a long time, all these development jobs, business development, whatever you want to call them, those are people who are not actually productive employees.
Tartine Bakery, like how many locations are there?
I've got more respect for a line chef than someone who calls themselves an executive restaurant developer, whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, if you're executive chef for like a major corporation, like a major chain of restaurants or something, you're pulling in a 6-figure salary, probably, right? Like you're an executive chef for Ruth's Chris. I mean, you're making good money. You're an executive chef for this bakery in San Francisco. 14 locations, Tartine Bakery, 14 locations. So,
but what's that? I mean, is it like a bank? Is every other employee a vice president? I mean, who knows what any of that means?
Yeah, I have no idea. That's what I'm looking at it right now. I don't know. I'm probably delving into this too much because I'm tired.
Anyway, listen, I'm gonna have to sign off. I got to get ready for my webinar at the top of the hour. But thanks for having me. Depending on how tired I am after the webinar, I'll see if I can check back in. Otherwise, have a great show today, and congrats on 400 grand.
Oh, thank you, buddy. Have a good webinar, and if I see you later, great. If not, we'll see you soon.
All right, take care.
Cheers. Woo! They're due back in 9 minutes. 9 minutes. Okay, next. Jalissa V says, I guess I can just not clean my house, take pictures, and accuse my husband of domestic violence. I mean, that's kind of what it looked like, right? You knock over a few things, knock over a fruit bowl, and you're willing to break a glass or two, and then suddenly you've been abused. Brian Alleman, I've been stuck in meetings for the last 2 hours wanting to claw my eyes out from boredom. After 5 minutes of this, I realized maybe it wasn't so bad in the meetings. Oh, dude, no kidding. Why did they do Sky News? Why would you do that? They killed their live stream. Okay, we've got what? Okay, very weird. Tell you what, guys, I'll be right back. I'm gonna run to the bathroom. Don't go too far. Let's see. What do we got? But I'll be back in just a minute. All right, all right. Sorry about that. See, I saw someone ask a question in chat right as I was leaving, and the question was, is it illegal to take photos of the jury? Yeah. Typically that would be against the judge's order. You are not allowed to take pictures of the jury. Should have gone to the bathroom while Branko was still on. Yeah, I should have, but then he left a little bit before. I wasn't keeping track of the time very well. He left a little bit before I thought he would. So that's that's how it goes. Let's see. Got a new yeah, they just shut down their stream. That's amazing. I don't know why they did that, but why would they private the stream? Don't make no sense. Very weird. Well, I mean, there are obviously other ones, so it's not a big deal. I'll let me pull one up while I wait. This one won't have closed captioning, which is why I like the Sky News one, because it has closed captioning enabled. But c'est la vie. I'll keep looking for it just in case it comes back. Okay, where were we? Gethralkin says, is Jody the publicist on the phone with TMZ? Looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, having her publicist in those pictures just is a bad look for Amber Heard for trying to keep it quiet. But we know she wasn't trying to keep it quiet. We know that what she was doing actually was trying to be very much visible. That's why it was leaked to TMZ in the first place. Yeah, I don't like Law and Crime stream. I think Law and Crime is a pile of garbage organization, and they can lick my fucking nuts. And I'm still waiting for them to sue me. That'll be fun. But two, I actually don't really like the 2-camera feed that they use. It shrinks the images down even more, and it's a mess. So next, we've got Les Hodge. The longer Rocky goes, the more I side with Amber in the dish fighting incident. I don't believe she looked hard enough either. Tarkina Meyer says so. And Tarkina, if you're still there, tag me. What EverQuest server did you play on? I'm kind of curious. So in the elevator, JF supposedly touched her left cheek, and Amber said he was caressing her injury. Photo of bruise is the right cheek. Yeah. Oh, James Franco. Yeah, that's a question. Let Rob from Law and Lumber in. Did I not send him a link? I think I sent him a link. I'm double checking right now. Yeah. He's let's see. Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit before Rob's able to jump on from Law and Lumber. He has the link. He laid out his schedule for me in DMs, and he's got some stuff going on. So if he's able to, he'll pop in. If he's not, he won't. That's how that'll go. So let's see. What's Solusek Row number 1? Oh, wait, no, that's what Consequence says. Solusek Row number 1. I started on Sol Row. I then migrated to Aone Row with the server split. Okay, here we go. I've got a stream pulled up. I mean, I have one. I'm not worried about it. I'm just yeah, the Sky News stream is just reliable, so I still wait for the day when I run into someone like from my old EverQuest guild or something on one of these streams. That'd be weird. Where did we go? Did you know that Drew testified that Amber had a threesome with Musk and Cara Delvini while married to Johnny? No, I did not know that, and that's not coming into trial apparently, so that's not going to be very helpful. Where can you find the Sky News live stream? Well, you can't right now. They pulled it down. I assume they'll start up a new one when they come back from lunch, but there must have been something on that stream that they were not comfortable with having that they want to edit out or whatever, because they leave all their streams up normally. Nick Afifi says, not only did people show up for Johnny Depp, they've all known / worked with him for 20 plus years. None of these people, Assistant I.O. Rocky, still associate with Amber. Remember, Dr. Muffin said a hallmark of borderline personality disorder is instability in relationships. Yeah, and Branka and I have talked a little bit about why. It's because these people are charming on the outside, but below the surface, they're not. They're actual monsters. Maybe not their choice to be monsters, but that's what they end up being. The judge is back. Nothing's happening yet. Just a second. Yeah. Well, we'll go with this one. So sorry if you want some subtitles. I'll have to try and find them later and switch at a pause or a lag. But for now, we'll go with this. Romo Drummer says, I have a theory as to why Amber mostly has video depositions. For them to lie better, they are reading scripts in front of them out of view of the camera and a computer where they have the video chat with the counsels. That I don't think that's the case. I mean, the main reason is you can't cross-examine them very effectively. I mean, your deposition cross is going to be,
All right, please be
your
seated.
deposition questioning is going to go way different than
Your
in
next
court.
witness.
Your Honor, we'd like to call Whitney Enriquez to the stand.
Oh, it's Whitney Hurd.
Forward, ma'am.
Well, I gotta tweet it out. You got to get on that grift. Let's see. Here we go.
Swear or testify truthfully in this case and the penalty of law. I do.
This is going to be a very important moment. This is probably one of
Thank you,
their
Your Honor.
most,
Will you please state your name
their
for
best
the record?
witnesses.
Whitney Enriquez
And where do you live?
in Glendale, California.
And you're Amber's sister?
I am
How old are you?
34.
So you're her younger sister?
Yes,
Okay. Are you married and do you have any children?
I am. I'm married with 2 small children,
Okay. How old are your children?
a 3-year-old and a newborn who's just over 2 months old.
What is your profession?
Before the pandemic, I worked in hotels doing various food and beverage management jobs, primarily events as well.
Now I'm going to take you to Mr. Depp and Amber, the early stages. When did you first meet Mr. Depp?
I met him sometime in 2011 for the Rum Diary press tour, but I did not meet him until 2012 as Amber's boyfriend.
And were you living with Amber at the time?
Yes, we had an apartment together on Orange Avenue. I split my time between there as well as an apartment I shared with my boyfriend at the time.
Now, describe your relationship with Mr. Depp in the early stages.
We got along really well at first. He was sober at the time,
Man, she's
and
hot.
Johnny, when he's sober, is very bright and beautiful and lovely and kind and generous, and he was very easy to get to know. And frankly, we all fell in love with him at first.
The audio's a little
Now, describe
different.
your
I'll turn it
observations
down.
of Amber and Mr. Depp's relationship in the early stages.
Again, at first, that was wonderful. They were incredibly in love. I actually, to this day, have never seen my sister fall so madly for somebody. And things were wonderful. They seemed to really understand each other and get along well. But very quickly, this pattern emerged as their relationship went on, that if Johnny was using, there almost always was a fight. There was always a
Objection, Your Honor. Cause for speculation, lack of foundation.
All right, it's the foundation, if you want to lay
Okay.
foundation.
What, if any, changes in their relationship did you observe?
That when Johnny was using, there would be a fight. I saw it firsthand.
Objection, Your Honor. Same objection.
Overruled, that's fine.
Thank you. Please continue.
If he was using or if he was drinking, there was almost always a fight. There was always an argument. There was always a period where they weren't getting along, and it seemed to oscillate pretty quickly. He would be sober for a little bit and then almost just as quickly fall off the wagon and start to use or drink, and there would be some big blowout, and it seemed to go back and forth pretty frequently. There was never an extended period of time where it was one or the other.
What, if any, changes did you observe in Amber over the period of her relationship with Johnny?
At first, Amber was Amber. She was loud, funny. She laughed a lot. She was just this happy, bright, fun-loving thing, always surrounded by friends. And then it was a progression that took over such a long period of time, and it was so slow. In hindsight, it was like watching a slow motion gunshot. She suddenly stopped sleeping as much. She wasn't as funny. She wasn't as loud. She wasn't as gregarious as she used to be. Cut to the end of their relationship, she was so physically unwell. She maybe weighed 100 pounds soaking wet. She was emaciated. She wasn't sleeping. She had developed a heart condition, and her eyes were sunken in. She just looked
Objection,
like
Your
two
Honor.
different.
Lack of foundation calls for hearsay.
She's giving her observations.
Heart condition, I'll sustain as to heart
Okay,
condition. Thank you.
other than the heart condition, please continue.
She just, if you were to do a photograph side by side, you would see two very different people. And people that knew her throughout the entirety of their relationship saw the same thing.
I mean, she looks different now,
What, if
though,
any,
but she's not getting
observations
abused
did
now.
you make about Mr. Depp's Mr. Depp exhibiting controlling behavior over the course of their relationship relating to Amber's clothing?
Objection,
Objection,
leading.
Your Honor. Leading.
What, if any, observations did she
sustain
make
the
about?
I'll sustain the objection.
Very much.
What, if any,
leading.
observations did you make about Mr. Depp's treatment of Amber relating to clothing?
At first, it would be like light jokes, or, she left the house wearing something like, oh, you're going to wear that, or just some joke. It was very subtle, and then over time, again, just like the progression of their relationship, it just intensified. Then suddenly it's, they have the same stylist. He and I forgot her name, but suddenly they have the same stylist, and he had been essentially controlling what she wore to events and things like that. So she went from being able to wear whatever the hell she wanted, and then suddenly she's wearing anything that his stylist wanted her to wear, or wanted him to wear. And her style over time just got more and more conservative.
What, if any, observations
older
did you
too,
make about
though.
Mr. Depp with respect to Amber's work?
That too was one thing. At first, he was saying he was protective over the kinds of jobs she was taking. Oh, that's not going to be good for her career. That's not going to be good for this, not going to be good for that. And then suddenly he has a problem with her taking any sort of job or any sort of audition. And then it became every time that she even thought about taking a meeting, it was another fight. He would often say things like, I don't even understand why she needs to work. I'll take care of her. I'll take care of you. I'll take care of everyone else. She doesn't need to work at all. It was one of those things that he was, at the end, vehemently against her working at all.
What, if any, observations did you make about Mr. Depp's treatment of Amber with respect to friends?
Again, these are all things that just very slowly over time just changed. At first, he was very inclusive of all of us. At one point, we all lived downtown together in these beautiful lofts. At first, that was part of the relationship, was getting to know him and him getting to know us. And then just, again, slowly over time, he took issue with Brandon at one point, and then Brandon wasn't allowed in the fold. Time went on, he had an issue with Io. Io wasn't allowed in the fold anymore. And then at some point, even me, he had accused me of doing something horrendous that I had never done. And then suddenly, I'm not allowed around anymore. And just over time, she had such a small network of people that were there to support her. It was hard to watch.
So the thing to watch for.
What,
with
if any,
her
observations did you make about Mr. Depp's
is going to be this allegation of
attitude
against
or
Whitney.
treatment of Amber with respect to her health?
Amber was she was a pretty healthy person at first. She didn't have any medical issues that, you know, didn't need
Cocaine
intervention
use.
of any sort. But in one of
92
Johnny's
pounds.
attempts to get sober, he had employed Dr. Kipper, who had these nurses, and
These
he had a
nurses.
personal nurse that would like administer medication, and you know, I think the intention was to make sure that he stayed clean and
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
Without discussing
That's
what
not
the
what the objection.
intentions were, just go ahead and give us what your observations were with respect to Mr. Depp, with respect to Amber's health.
Sure. All of a sudden, for really unclear reasons, Amber had her own personal nurse just administering medication, and
Because she
from
wanted
what I
pills.
saw, it was strange. I didn't think Amber needed, you know, medication on the daily or whatever. And then all of a sudden, she has a therapist that is employed by Dr. Kipper. Even her medical treatment was somehow controlled by or paid for by Johnny.
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation with respect to the control.
Was to control, but paid for. I'll allow. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's no foundation for the
What, if
control.
anything, did Mr. Depp say about
Actually, she
Amber's
doesn't have foundation
electronic
for the paid for
devices?
either.
Well, every time they fought or had an argument, a device was going to get smashed. She lost a phone, a tablet, a computer. You could almost guarantee that something would get destroyed when they fought. Very often, fights were at least in part surrounded by text messages or something that he would find on her phones, or, you know, whatever. And at some point, she wasn't even allowed to have passwords on her phone, or if she did have a password, it was something really simple that he memorized, but there was zero expectation of privacy for her in terms of what was on her device or accessibility of her devices.
How many times did you observe Mr. Depp drunk?
Countless. I mean, too many times for me to quantify.
How many times did you observe Mr. Depp high on drugs?
Again, it would be really hard to put a number to that. It was a lot.
And what types of drugs did Mr. Depp use, to your knowledge and your observation?
Well, personally, I've done cocaine and drank with him on a number of occasions. So that, he almost always had weed of some sort, marijuana, like, you know, joints or whatever. I have seen him take MDMA on an occasion, shrooms as well. I once saw him consume a Ziploc bag that had a bunch of just unknown pills, some prescription, some not. He just took them all at once to see what would happen, and he laughed about it. Those are what I can recall.
Okay. Now, you said that you also did cocaine with Mr. Depp, is that correct?
Yes.
What, if any, observations did you make as to what Mr. Depp carried in his pockets?
Well, he always had cigarettes or rolling papers. When I say cigarettes, I mean the tobacco and rolling papers. He always had a joint on him. If he was in a phase of using coke, he would carry around a little pill box that had his cocaine in it. He always had a pocket knife, a lighter, and yeah, it's about what I can recall.
Okay. What, if any, behavior changes did you observe when Mr. Depp had been drinking alcohol or using drugs?
Like I said, it was, you know, a completely different version. You know, he was almost unrecognizable when he was drinking and using to an excess. If it was alcohol and coke, he would slur. He would go on these paranoid, delusional rants about things that didn't make any sense. He, you know, his speech would be slurred. I almost never knew him to use cocaine without drinking. Those were generally combined. When he would smoke weed, he was much more relaxed. He was kind of what you would expect, happy on a couch, laughing. But when he was drinking, he would just get very angry, and he would just say really nasty, unkind things. And it almost didn't, usually about Amber, sometimes about me, but it almost didn't matter if she was in the room or not. He would just say really horrible horrible, horrible things about her or to her.
Name some
Can
of them.
you give the jury a few examples that you can
There you go.
recall?
Pardon my language, fucking cunt. He called her a fucking used up trash bag, slimy whore, saggy whore. Just, you know, fucking cunt was thrown out a bunch. Just horrible things like that.
I'm going to take you to March 21st, 2013. We've called it the painting or Keith Richards incident. When did
This
you
is the best
arrive
part.
at the
You can
Orange
testify to
apartment
anything
on
you want
March
that the other person said.
21st, 2013?
It was sometime in the afternoon. I came in and Orange was typically a very neat, clean place. But as soon as I walked in, there was smoke in the air. Remember, it smelled like cigarette smoke and there was smoke in the air. So somebody had been smoking inside, which was odd because Amber and I don't smoke. And Johnny used to always just go outside to smoke. But walking a little bit further in, there was like furniture askew. Going into the kitchen, there was, you know, Johnny was sat at our little breakfast nook table that we had there. And he was wearing glasses. He had, you know, there was cocaine in front of him. There was booze in front of him, journal, like no newspaper, things like that, just kind of scattered around at the table. And I sat down to talk to him to see what was going on. And
looks like a
it was
Whitney.
really hard to understand what he was getting at. It was really clear that he had been drinking for some time. His speech was slurred. And again, it was really hard to follow what he was trying to tell me. At first, he seemed to be upset that my sister had been photographed with our friend Marie in France. He then started saying that it must have meant that she was having an affair with her and, you know, everyone would be laughing at her. And this woman, her father was a French politician. So he then starts rambling on about, oh, he knows what her father's up to and her this, that, and the other. And again, it was just this strange paranoid tailspin is the only way I can describe it. That just, it wasn't true. My sister wasn't having an affair with this person.
Objection, Your Honor. I think it's pretty non-responsive at this point.
All right, next question. Sustain the objection.
Please describe what your conversations
Whitney's
were and your
job is to be a
observations
hitman
were
on
with
this.
Mr. Depp.
Bolster Amber's character all
So
over the place.
as I'm sitting there talking to him, Amber is in the
Johnny's.
kitchen and, you know, she's not sat at the table or anything. She's kind of hanging back and Johnny's still talking to me about what the problem was. And then all of a sudden the focus shifts to this painting that has been on the wall ever since Amber and I moved in. And the painting was done by one of my sister's exes. So he was convinced that it was on the
What's up,
wall.
Rob?
To taunt him, to tease him, and how disrespectful that he had to wake up next to this painting. It surely meant that Amber and Tasha were back together again, which of course was not true. But he was then upset about that. He was upset about this painting that was on the wall. I was trying to talk to him, not only to just try to figure out what was going on, but I was trying to get him out of the house because he was already very late for filming this documentary that was being shot at one of his houses.
Was that with Keith Richards?
Correct.
Okay.
That was my
The
understanding
most
of it.
dangerous
Please
witness
continue.
that I know of is Whitney.
So for hours we sat there.
Yeah.
I was trying to, you know, talk to him, make him feel like everything was okay, just try to get him out of the house. His assistant kept coming in and out at one point. And all the while, Amber is just in the kitchen. She's like giving us space, but she's in earshot and he's saying these things about her. And at one point she tries to come over to like check on him and she kind of embraces him from behind and he's just like, fuck off. And, you know, continues to say these things about her. And again, we sat there forever and eventually we did get him to leave the house. So
When was the last
he
question?
insisted that Amber come too, and that if they were going to work it
been a
out,
while.
she'd have to be there and they would talk about it at some other point, I guess.
Let me just stop you for a minute. What, if any,
Oh, now you'll
injuries
stop her.
did you observe on Amber at that time?
At the time, it was before I had a real understanding of what was going on. It was pretty, and her face
So you
was
didn't see any
swollen,
injuries?
but I didn't, and it was kind of red. I thought she had just been crying. And her lip did appear to be cut, but again, that at the time, that wasn't what we were trying to do. It wouldn't have been appropriate to, talk to her about it or anything.
Why?
That wasn't my focus, frankly. My focus was just sitting there trying to figure out what he was upset about and get him out of the house.
So how long were you at Orange with Mr. Depp and Amber before he left to go to the Keith Richards?
A few hours. I couldn't say, maybe around like 4 or 5 hours.
Did she do a bunch of speed before taking the stand?
Did you accompany
Kind of
Mr.
seems
Depp
like it.
over to the
She's very
recording,
eager.
or did you stay?
I did.
And did
Amber-
Amber go too?
Correct. That was part of the condition of him leaving, is that Amber had to go with us.
All right. Well, please describe to the jury what happened next then on your ride over there.
So Amber and Johnny were sitting in the back. I was in the front with Sterling, the driver. And they weren't saying much back there. There was music playing pretty loudly. So I couldn't really hear what was going on back there. But at some point I heard the back door open, or the back window open, and Johnny is holding our dog out the window. And I froze.
I hope they
was
introduced the
scared
photos of
because I
Amber
just
doing the
remember
same
thinking
thing.
I knew how inebriated he was, and and the dog was very small. I thought if she twitched or if he lost her somehow, she was just going to go out the window.
The dog was very small.
And
made that
Amber, of course,
massive-
was just saying,
Objection, Your Honor.
Not if there's the truth of the matter asserted, Your Honor.
I'll sustain objection.
Okay. Don't say what Amber said. Just go ahead and continue with your observations.
He brought the
I'll be
dog
right back.
back into the
Yep,
car.
no worries.
And he was just laughing, this really scary, loud, it was almost like a cackle. And he then made some joke about putting her in the microwave. And that was the joke after that, was
That's a
putting
good
the dog
joke.
in the microwave.
Okay.
It's a hot dog.
During the year 2013,
You
what,
cannot
if
have her
any,
testimony stricken for
marks
bias.
did you
You could just impeach her
observe
with
on
bias.
Amber? Any injuries or signs of markings, anything like that?
Occasionally I'd see bruising, cut lips, split lips, weird marks, burns, or I don't know, on her arm, scratches on her arm, things like that. It was just weird, and it was periodic. It wasn't like a constant thing, but there were injuries to her.
And what, if anything, did you do? Did you ask her about them?
I did at some point confront her and ask her, and she.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Don't tell
Sustain
us.
the objection.
Okay.
Next question.
Okay. But you did ask her about them.
Objection, hearsay.
Yes.
Is that-
Objection,
okay.
Your Honor. Same objection.
Next question.
That's
fine.
That's okay.
Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You can't.
All
If
right,
she
I'm gonna
asked her
take you
about
to
them,
June
that is hearsay.
2013 Hicksville. Were you in attendance at that event with Mr. Depp and Amber?
Yes. Yes.
Please describe for the jury what you can recall from that event.
So Hicksville is like this, it's this like collection of themed Airstreams. It's like a little, it's in the middle of the desert. It's just like a fun little place to go. So we went with a group of our friends. And yeah, so each one of us had our own little Airstream or whatever. So my partner and I at the time, we got there last. So as we're going around checking out the different Airstreams, because again, each one of them had a different theme. So it was kind of fun to see, who was staying in which theme or whatever. I open Amber and Johnny's, and there's cocaine on the table. And I didn't really think much of it at the time. I was just like, all right, fine. We're all here to have fun. And that night, we sat around the campfire. Everyone was drinking. Some people were taking shrooms, and then I drank too much, and I went to bed early before everyone else. And then the next day, when everyone was cleaning up, I had heard about something that had happened the night before, and an altercation that.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Don't tell us what you heard. Go ahead and just tell the jury what you observed.
I observed people cleaning up after what appeared to be just a night of friends hanging out. I then went to my sister's trailer, where she was staying with Johnny, and it looked like a bomb went off in there. There was broken things. Things had been skewed. It just looked incredibly messy. It looked like somebody had ransacked it. That's what I observed.
Okay. Now I'm going to take you to September 2013. What, if anything, did you do with Mr. Depp relating to going to London?
So September 2013, that was around the time of my birthday. Amber was filming in London, and she wasn't able to make it back for my birthday. And it was also a friend of ours, Io, also has a birthday the same time, or around the same time as me. And Johnny thought it would be great to load up and
Camille
surprise
won't be
Amber
doing
on
cross.
set. He thought she would really enjoy it, and so that's what we did. We loaded up, we went on a plane that he chartered, and I believe my father was with us as well. And yeah, Johnny and I drank and did a lot of cocaine on that plane, and I ended up passing out. But we get to London, and it was wonderful to see Amber, and we had a dinner that night at the hotel that we were staying at, or it was either that night or the next night. I can't remember exactly, but at one point, Johnny picked up a steak knife and he hurled it at his assistant. Missed him, but obviously Nathan got upset and he left, and he was upset as well. And a fight broke out between Amber and Johnny that night. I didn't witness it. I wasn't there. I knew that they
Objection,
were.
Your
Then-
Honor, lack of foundation.
All right,
Yeah.
sustain the objection.
Okay.
Next
Didn't
question.
witness it. I wasn't
So
there. Let me
can't
tell you about
us
it.
about it if you weren't there. So
Okay.
what happened next that you were aware of?
I left sometime after that, and when I touched down in Los
paper?
Angeles, I learned that they had
Objection, Your Honor.
Not offered to prove the truth of the matter,
Sustain the
Your Honor.
objection.
Yeah,
Next question.
it is offered to prove the truth.
When did they
Elaine.
get engaged?
They got engaged at some point when I was on the plane. After I left London. By the time I landed in London, they were engaged.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to jump all the way to November 2014, the 2014 Hollywood Film Awards. What, if any, involvement did you have with Mr. Depp relating to the Hollywood Film Awards?
The film actors.
I was
Guild.
called over to where he was getting ready, 80.
And when you say 80, are we talking about Sweetser?
Yes, that's one of the houses that is on that street that Johnny had. He had several houses on that street. 80 was the one that he referred to as like the man cave. That's where he spent a lot of time. So I was summoned to 80, again, following a fight that he and my sister were having. And
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of foundation.
I
Just go on, just don't talk about what you weren't party to. You got
Okay.
there, please tell
This
the
is
jury.
Whitney's job
Okay, please tell the jury what you observed.
to
what
run
happened
Amber's
when you were
narrative, no matter
Sure.
what,
When
no
I got
matter if she was
there-
there or not.
Johnny was outside, and he was very drunk already, and he was continuing to drink. He was, again, rambling about my sister having affairs with people that it just wasn't true, and just kept saying things. It was, that she doesn't need to work, and he doesn't understand why she continues to take jobs. She must be doing it to insult him or to hurt him, or she's only taking these jobs because she wants to meet people. I don't know. The entire time that we were talking, his sister and his, assistants at one point, everyone was trying to get him out of the house because he was already very late for this. But eventually they did get him to leave the house. And yeah,
Who's on
I
cross? It's
saw
the
the
bond
award show
attorney.
later at some point.
I don't know her
And
name.
what did you observe when you watched the award show?
Unfortunately, an extension of what I had seen at the house. He was still very drunk, actually a little bit more drunk than when I saw him at the house.
And what was he doing that caused you to believe he was very drunk?
Well, he was drinking the entire time that we were talking. And, in general, at this point, I had understood what
feed is
Johnny looks
awful.
like when he's
Try
drunk.
refreshing.
He's stammering. His speech was hard to understand. He was slurring. He was super unsteady on his feet. Yeah, I recognize what he looks like when he's drunk.
Okay.
I'm not
Now I'm
seeing the
going to take
lag
you
or
to
anything.
March 23rd, 2015.
So I wonder if there's some issue with StreamYard.
And at this time,
sending it
were
out.
you living at the penthouse suites?
I was.
Okay.
Excuse me. Sorry.
When approximately did you move into the penthouse?
She's crackling. I'm not
suites?
getting that at all. Hold on one second.
15.
I didn't want to switch. No, hold on. So here we go. Hold on.
I actually don't know for sure when I moved in.
When approximately did you move into the penthouse
I would
suites?
take
Was
me
the
a minute
question.
to remember.
It's right where we
Sometime
left
in
off on the other one.
I don't know, 14, I think.
Okay. And so as of March 23rd, 2015, you're living there, correct?
Yes.
And where are you living in those penthouse suites? What is it called?
So I was in what they call PH4. The layout is, the entire top floor of this building. Johnny owns the mall, and he was kind enough to let us all live there. So I was in PH4. Amber and Johnny were in PH3. I believe Isaac was in 2, and Rocky and Josh were in 1. But the only ones that actually connected were 3, 4, and 5. So again, I was kind of sandwiched between where Johnny and Amber stayed and Amber's basically closet. So basically you had to cut through to get to one point to the other. So I was sleeping. I woke up to Amber in my bedroom saying, "Can you believe he's cheating on me?"
Objection, Your Honor.
You're not offered to prove the truth of the matter
Over-
asserted.
overruled. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. Please continue.
She said something.
She said overruled. It's okay for you to say what.
Oh,
just
sorry.
Just briefly what you just explained.
I woke up to her saying, "Can you believe he's cheating on me? Your fucking brother is cheating on me." I got up. I told her to stay right there.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
It's not offered to prove the truth of the matter.
Yes, it is.
Overruled for that statement. Go ahead.
Please continue.
I instructed her to stay in my apartment while I go and talk to Johnny. So I leave PH4. I leave her in PH4.
And let me just stop. Are you sober, drunk? Have you been drinking?
Oh, rare occasions where I was sober. It was in the middle of the night. I was asleep.
So I'm sorry, I'm not sure that I understood your question. So you were sober?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Please continue.
So I go to PH5 where Johnny, Debbie, and Travis were all standing in the kitchen of PH5. I went down there to talk to him, and again, I can tell he's clearly drunk, and he has a bottle of alcohol of some sort in front of him as well. And again, he's talking to me about how Amber found these text messages between him and a woman called Rochelle. And then he starts saying that this woman was meaningless. It wasn't anything special. She's nothing special. But then he immediately shifted to, well, Amber pushed me. Amber made me do it. Yeah, of course I'm cheating on her, whatever. And it suddenly became about Amber making him do it. At some point, then Amber is on the mezzanine level of PH5. So it's kind of hard to explain. So the kitchen's down here and the mezzanine's up here. So she's there. It's her little office nook, and she starts shouting at him, saying,
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
It's not offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted, Your Honor. She's screaming expletives at him. I mean, that's not offered to prove the truth.
Overruled.
Thank you.
They're
it
saying
is,
horrible things to one another.
But
Fuck
okay.
you. He's calling her a fucking whore, fucking cunt, used up trash bag, whatever. They were saying horrible things to one another. She was calling him old and fat. It was a fight. They were saying really nasty things to one another. I leave them in the kitchen to go up the stairs, was trying to calm Amber down, hopefully get her back into my apartment.
Used up trash
Debbie
bag.
had come up with me.
And Debbie, who's Debbie?
Debbie was his nurse at the
Debbie
time.
Lloyd?
Yes, I believe that was her name.
Okay.
So we're with Amber on the mezzanine level.
I'm sorry, just so we know who where is. Is it you and Debbie that are with Amber, or is it?
Yes, Debbie,
Okay.
So this is
Debbie,
gonna be
Amber,
the
and I
stair
are
pushing
on the little
incident.
mezzanine area. And as I mentioned, the mezzanine overlooks the kitchen and the living room. So Johnny then hurls a Red Bull can and it hits Debbie in the back. She didn't even react. She didn't really seem to notice.
Oh,
But I'm
okay.
standing up there talking.
Or it
I'm
didn't
standing up there.
happen.
I'm at the top of the stairs with my back to the stairs. And that's when Johnny runs up the stairs. And I'm facing Amber. He comes up behind me, strikes me in the back, kind of just somewhere over here. He strikes me in the back. I hear Amber shout, "Don't hit my fucking sister." She smacks him, lands one. And then he grabs, at that point, that's when Travis runs up the stairs after Amber landed one. But by that time, Johnny had already grabbed Amber by the hair with one hand and was whacking her repeatedly in the face with the other as I was standing there. Travis pulls them apart.
This
I get
story is
Amber into
so
mine.
different.
I close the doors behind me and lock them. I then hear Johnny's voice shouting.
Never mind, withdraw.
Okay, sorry.
I hear Johnny's voice shouting, I fucking hate you. I hate you both. You fucking cunts. You fucking whores. And I hear crashing. I hear crashing and banging and smashing, and he starts screaming like an animal. And I then just moved Amber into the next room, and I just kept her there all night. The next day, I go and I see her closet has been completely destroyed. Racks were overturned. Yeah, one of the clothing racks had been like tossed down the stairs. There was art off the wall.
This
and down in the
hyperbolic
kitchen, there was
testimony
broken
is
glass.
so
Like,
stupid and
the
short-sighted.
place was destroyed.
Michelle, can you bring up Defendant's Exhibit 400? Whitney, do you recognize this text exchange?
Amber did
here?
not claim that Johnny punched her in the face
And it's on March
repeatedly at this
23,
incident.
2015 at 6:57, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, could you describe, just
Objection, Your Honor.
identify it, please?
Yep, sorry, on hearsay grounds.
All right, you want to approach? We'll just take a look.
Just absolutely way wild incident. No pushing down the stairs. He's grabbing Amber by the hair and punching her in the face over and over. Amber testified that she slugged that she slugged Johnny Depp. Like the whole story is it's completely different than what Amber Heard testified to. Is this Johnny's sister? No, this is Amber Heard's sister. That's nuts, man. Fadi LD, they got right to it. I mean, this is what her job is. Now they'll probably impeach her. This lady's gonna do the cross. I don't know her name. We haven't seen much of her in action here, but she'll be doing the cross. I would assume they're gonna try and impeach her with the letter written by Whitney's friend saying that basically Whitney had told her that none of this ever happened. And that this story is insane. If they don't impeach Whitney on it, they will likely call that person on rebuttal. But yeah, this is just again, this is the risk. Whitney's coming in there. She might want to hype up the story because how important this is. Whitney, if she's able to, has not been able to watch. She's not supposed to be watching this trial, so she shouldn't know what Amber Heard has said. Her story is wildly different than what Amber's story is on this incident. And jury's got to be asking what the hell is going on. Shit. I was going to answer this super chat, but we'll get it in a minute. Is that letter in evidence? Not yet.
So this is Can we publish, Your Honor?
Yes, it's in evidence, yes.
Thank you. So Whitney, this is dated March 23rd, 2015, 6:57. Do you see that?
Mhm.
Okay, and that's to Kevin. Who's Kevin?
Kevin Murphy, he was Johnny's estate manager.
Okay. And then Michelle, if you can scroll up. So let's stop at the first one. Can you please describe to the jury what this is?
That is one of Amber's clothing racks on the stairs that lead up to the bedroom area.
And you took this picture?
I did.
Okay. Michelle, can you scroll up again? And please describe for the jury what's depicted in this photo.
These are more of Amber's racks. These were her shoes.
Yeah,
and
to the
purses and
mods, can
such.
you
Those were all
can
like,
you
taken
ban the
off
Chinese
walls,
spam bots,
and
the commie
you can see
spam
here all of her
bots?
clothes are on the floor. Her shoes.
Okay, thank you.
How is the letter from someone else not hearsay? Because it would be a prior
The
inconsistent
next one,
statement.
could you please describe
of
what
Whitney.
the next picture depicts?
More
We'll
of the
get there if
same.
they bring it up.
Clothing racks that have been kind of toppled over or moved. They were like neat. It looked like it's a closet room, but these ones were just toppled over or moved. This is the room that adjoined my room. So
Okay. Let's go to the next one.
China
And
number
could
one.
you describe for the jury, please, what this is?
that's another clothing rack that has been taken down and taken apart, kind of.
Okay. And we'll go to the next one. And please describe for the jury what's depicted here.
Just more clothing racks that have been taken down, moved.
Okay. And please describe for the jury what's depicted here.
Same thing, just more clothing racks that were toppled over.
All right. And we go to the next one.
And this is the kitchen area. This is the taken from the mezzanine level that I was describing earlier, but that looks like broken glass.
China is asshole.
Or something, blue ceramic, broken.
Okay. And if we go up, and the top one there looks like part of what was earlier. Let's go to the bottom one. I think we have a bigger picture there. Does that help with
Yes.
what's depicted there?
I still can't tell what it was, maybe a plate of some sort, but there's also a rolled cigarette, a couple bottles of water. But yeah, whatever that blue thing is, it was broken. That's what's all over the kitchen there and also next to the stove.
Okay. Thank you. After the staircase incident, what, if anything, did Mr. Depp ask you to sign?
There was an NDA on my kitchen table.
Can you tell the jury what an NDA is?
It's a non-disclosure agreement. It's basically, my understanding is it's a contract to keep things private, to keep your mouth shut, essentially.
All right. And you were given one or asked to sign one?
I was asked to sign one. I don't believe I signed it. I left sometime after.
So you moved out after that?
It was after this point that Johnny
Who asked
had
you to sign
accused
it?
me of selling stories to the media, which were absolutely untrue, but I moved out after that point.
Okay. Now, did there come a time that Amber asked you to move back in?
Yes, February 2016, she texted me asking me to come back.
Okay. And so you were living with her from sometime in February 2016 forward?
I think on and off. I think I had my own apartment by then, but I spent a lot more time at the Eastern after that.
Okay. I'm going to take you to April 21, 2016, Amber's 30th birthday party. Were you present for that?
I was.
Can you please describe to the jury what you observed that night?
It was her 30th birthday, so we wanted to make it, really special. We had made this beautiful
Drugs.
dinner, and it was great. All of her close friends were there, and everyone was having a really good time. Everyone was having fun. Johnny showed up very, very late, and he was drunk when he showed up. Amber was obviously upset about it, but There came a time in the party where we all went around the table and said our favorite thing about Amber, just funny memories or whatever.
And Johnny said she was a saggy cunt.
When it came to Johnny's turn, he told this story about how they first met when they met for the Rum Diary. So, he had this story about how she came in to his office and she sat on the couch and her perfect ass left a perfect imprint on the couch, and he wouldn't let anyone sit there after she left that day. And it was one of those stories that everyone was kind of embarrassed. We had all gone around the table saying really nice things about her, and gets to him and he's talking about her ass.
But he said it was a perfect ass. That's a compliment.
We were all kind of embarrassed.
And when did you leave the party that night?
I left pretty shortly after that.
Okay.
And I went home.
What, if any, conversation did you have with Mr. Depp about his plans to attend Coachella the next day?
He was planning on coming to Coachella with us. Whenever at some point we were talking about what was happening the next day, and
Adam Waldman impacted Amber, and I'm asking for your observations. Just tell the jury what
your observations about
were
how she was
how
impacted.
These statements impacted Amber.
Objection, Your Honor. Compound, lack of foundation, speculation.
Overruled. That's fine.
Thank you.
Amber has worked so hard to overcome everything that she went through in the duration of their relationship. She has really, really tried her best to move past it. And anybody that knows Amber at all knows that
anybody knows
some of the most important things to her are honesty, integrity. Her reputation is all she has. She doesn't have piles of money and private islands or.
Objection, Your Honor. It's non-responsive.
I'll sustain the objection.
She
please continue with what
she was devastated by these.
This isn't the
To
response.
say that they're not true, it devastated her. And also, we had just buried our
how
mother.
was she impacted?
So
Not how did she feel?
Amber, she started having panic attacks randomly. She was not sleeping.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
These are your observations. Thank you. Please continue.
She hasn't testified that they're her observation.
These statements
You
devastated
didn't lay that
her.
foundation.
They devastated her because they weren't true, and they were just very, very, very much affecting her.
And you talked about
They were
panic
just, like,
attacks. What
so
else
doing
did
it.
you observe that she would do as a result of these? Physical.
She would just periodically just break into tears. She I don't know how else to describe it. She was so unwell.
she's
She
a
stopped
hatchet
sleeping
man.
again. She
Very dangerous witness,
was
though.
super anxious. She couldn't relax. She couldn't sit still. It was very similar to the Amber that I had seen back in 2016 as she was trying to get out of this relationship. It launched her back into this space where she was just so physically unwell, and she cried a lot.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
All right, cross-examination.
All right, let's see if she just roasts her alive. That was a quick, direct, straight to the point that they wanted to hit. I think that's the smart move for Amber. Plus, they're running out of time.
Good afternoon, Ms. Enriquez. We haven't met before. My name's Rebecca Lecarose. I'm one of the lawyers representing Mr. Depp in this case.
Rebecca Leca Rose is the one who's going to do it.
You grew up in Texas with your sister and your parents, right?
Correct.
And you were really close with Ms. Heard growing up?
We were.
And you're still close now, right?
We are.
And you love her?
Of course.
And your
This is
childhood, though, had some difficult
Biased
moments, right?
testimony.
It wasn't perfect.
Your father hit you and your sister at times, right?
Yes.
And your sister would protect you from that abuse when she could, wouldn't she?
We would protect each other for sure.
And when you graduated from high school, you moved out to Los Angeles, right?
I did.
And your sister gave you a place to live in LA?
Yes.
And she helped support you?
In part, I also was working myself, and yeah.
And
I'm
you're
not sure
grateful
how
to her for
effective
being
the
there when you needed her, right?
bias
Of course.
testimony actually is.
And just like she
but-
protected and cared for you, you want to protect and care for her, right?
And when I can, of course, but yeah.
You testified to having a great relationship with Mr. Depp when you first started dating your sister, right?
Correct.
And you thought of him as a brother?
Yes.
He called you sis?
Yes.
And you had affectionate nicknames for him too, didn't you?
A number of them, yes.
Yeah. And you testified that for a time you lived in the ECB penthouses with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard.
That's correct.
And Mr. Depp owned those penthouses?
He did.
You didn't pay rent while you were living there, right?
No.
You didn't pay for any of the bills for the penthouses?
No. It's very generous.
And Rocky Pennington lived in one of those penthouses also, right?
She did.
And at some point, her boyfriend Josh Drew moved in, right?
Yes.
And Isaac Bruch lived in one of those penthouses too.
Yes.
And you know that he testified here that you call him your spirit animal, right?
I did not know that, but he's wonderful.
You call him your spirit animal?
At one point I did, yes.
You took trips with your sister and Mr. Depp also, right?
Occasionally.
You didn't pay for those either, right?
Nope. I did not.
During the course of Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's relationship, you were frequently involved in their arguments, weren't you?
Yes.
In fact, you had a nickname, right?
Marriage counselor.
Yes.
Oh, see, this
you
is
often
better.
found yourself mediating disputes between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard,
This
right?
is better bias testimony
Clearly not
than
very well,
you
but
love your
yes.
sister.
And when you were in that role of marriage counselor, you empathized with Mr. Depp, right?
Yes, on occasion.
Because you had a pretty good understanding of what he was going through?
Depended on the situation. Sometimes I could totally see from his perspective. Other times I saw it from her perspective.
Well, you'd been there with Ms. Heard before, right?
We're sisters. Of course we've argued.
And you knew what it was like to want to run away for days and do your own thing and not have Ms. Heard there fighting with you, right?
I think that's kind of taken out of context a little bit.
Is it?
I think more metaphorically. But yes, I have been in arguments with my sister.
And you have wanted to run away for days, right?
Sure.
And not have her there fighting with you.
Sure.
Doesn't sound out of context to me. Sounds like exactly what she said. That's probably a line from one of her depositions.
You talked a little bit about the incident in March 2013, right?
Which one?
That was the one before you went to the Keith Richards
Yes.
documentary set. And you were present with Mr. Depp at Orange that day.
I was.
Didn't you do cocaine with Mr. Depp that afternoon?
Yes.
And you said Mr. Depp's already intoxicated?
He was by the time I got there.
And he was fighting with your sister?
He wasn't doing much of anything. He was sat at the table. He was telling me about the fight that they had.
So he'd been fighting with your sister that day when you arrived?
That was my understanding.
And you said she had a puffy face?
Yes.
And despite all of that, you decided it was a good idea to do cocaine with Mr. Depp at that juncture?
I hadn't yet connected the dots. I hadn't yet understood what that meant or what that would do.
That was a yes? Yes, you took cocaine with Mr. Depp?
I
after all
did.
that?
Yes, I already said that.
You testified that you had suspicions that Mr. Depp was allegedly hitting your sister. By some point in 2013, right?
Suspicions.
And notwithstanding that, in June 2013, you were actually joking with Mr. Depp about hitting your sister, right?
Regrettably over a text message, yes.
Your father hit you and your sister at times, right?
Yes.
And your sister would protect you from that abuse when she could, wouldn't she?
We would protect each other, for sure.
And when you graduated from high school, you moved out to Los Angeles, right?
I did.
And your sister gave you a place to live in LA?
Yes.
And she helped support you?
In part, I also was working myself, and yeah.
And
I'm
you're
not sure
grateful
how
to her for
effective
being
the
there when you needed her, right?
bias
course.
testimony actually is.
And just like she
but-
protected and cared for you, you want to protect and care for her, right?
And when I can, of course, but yeah.
You testified to having a great relationship with Mr. Depp when you first started dating your sister, right?
Correct.
And you thought of him as a brother?
Yes.
He called you sis?
Yes.
And you had affectionate nicknames for him too, didn't you?
A number of them, yes.
Yeah. And you testified that for a time you lived in the ECB penthouses with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard.
That's correct.
And Mr. Depp owned those penthouses?
He did.
You didn't pay rent while you were living there, right?
No.
You didn't pay for any of the bills for the penthouses?
No. It's very generous.
And Rocky Pennington lived in one of those penthouses also, right?
She did.
And at some point, her boyfriend Josh Drew moved in, right?
Yes.
And Isaac Bruch lived in one of those penthouses too.
Yes.
And you know that he testified here that you call him your spirit animal, right?
I did not know that, but he's wonderful.
Yeah. You call him your spirit animal?
At one point I did, yes.
You took trips with your sister and Mr. Depp also, right?
Occasionally.
You didn't pay for those either, right?
Nope. I did not.
During the course of Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's relationship, you were frequently involved in their arguments, weren't you?
Yes.
In fact, you had a nickname, right?
Marriage counselor.
Yes.
Oh, see, this
you
is
often
better.
found yourself mediating disputes between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard,
This
right?
is better bias testimony.
Clearly not
than
very well,
you
but
love your
yes.
sister.
And when you were in that role of marriage counselor, you empathized with Mr. Depp, right?
Yes, on occasion.
Because you had a pretty good understanding of what he was going through?
Depended on the situation. Sometimes I could totally see from his perspective. Other times I saw it from her perspective.
Well, you'd been there with Ms. Heard before, right?
We're sisters. Of course we've argued.
And you knew what it was like to want to run away for days and do your own thing and not have Ms. Heard there fighting with you, right?
I think that's kind of taken out of context a little bit.
Is it?
I think more metaphorically. But yes, I have been in arguments with my sister.
And you have wanted to run away for days, right?
Sure.
And not have her there fighting with you.
Sure.
Doesn't sound out of context to me. Sounds like exactly what she said. So that's probably a line from one of her depositions.
You talked a little bit about the incident in March 2013, right?
Which one?
That was the one before you went to the Keith Richards
Yes.
documentary set. And you were present with Mr. Depp at Orange that day.
I was.
Didn't you do cocaine with Mr. Depp that afternoon?
Yes.
And you said Mr. Depp's already intoxicated?
He was by the time I got there.
And he was fighting with your sister?
He wasn't doing much of anything. He was sat at the table. He was telling me about the fight that they had.
So
he
he'd
was
been,
kind of
he'd been
ignoring.
fighting with your sister that day when you arrived.
That was my understanding.
And you said she had a puffy face.
Yes.
And despite all of that, you decided it was a good idea to do cocaine with Mr. Depp at that juncture?
I hadn't yet connected the dots. I hadn't yet understood what that meant or what that would do.
That was a yes? Yes, you took cocaine with Mr. Depp.
I
after all
did.
that?
Yes, I already said that.
You testified that you had suspicions that Mr. Depp was allegedly hitting your sister by some point in 2013, right?
Suspicions.
And notwithstanding that, in June 2013, you were actually joking with Mr. Depp about hitting your sister, right?
Regrettably over a text message, yes.
You were encouraging him to hit her,
I was not literally encouraging him to hit her.
but you were joking about it.
Regrettably, yes. Again, I did not have an understanding fully of what that was. I never would have said that now, knowing what I know.
But that was alleged. That was around the time that you allegedly became aware that he was.
I don't
there were
know.
injuries on your sister that caused you to have suspicions.
I don't know if it was around the same time.
Turning to the staircase incident in March 2015, you testified that Mr. Depp allegedly hit you during that incident, right?
Yes.
But you aren't sure if that contact was even meant for you, right?
I honestly don't. I don't know what he was aiming for. My back was to him.
And you weren't injured during that incident, right?
No, I wasn't.
And you didn't seek medical attention?
No,
And you said Debbie Lloyd was there during all of that, correct?
she was.
And Mr. Depp's security, Travis McGivern, was there too?
Yes, he was.
And you saw your sister hit Mr. Depp on the stairs that day, right?
After he struck me, yes.
You said she landed one, right? And then the next day you found some damage in the adjoining penthouse.
Correct.
And we saw some pictures of what you saw that day, right?
Yes.
You thought it was important to document that damage, right?
Not to document. It was Kevin's job to kind of clean up the houses, take care of the houses. I took pictures just so he could be aware of what he would need to bring. I didn't know if he had tools here or whatever. I was just preparing him for what he was going to have to fix.
But you didn't take any pictures of your sister that day, right?
No, I didn't.
Why? Could Kevin
Now,
fix
after
her?
March 2015, you continued to have a close relationship with Mr. Depp, right?
Yes.
And you still loved him.
How do you have a close relationship
And you
with
were
this
there for
person
him
who's
if he needed to,
beating
right?
your sister
Of course.
in front of you?
And in fact, just a couple of weeks after that staircase incident, you were still acting as the marriage counselor, weren't you?
Look
At
at
some
that.
point, sure.
Look at her resting Karen face. I hate you.
And
I hate
that
you.
fall, after the staircase incident, October 2015, you claim you had seen Mr. Depp hitting your sister. And then in October 2015, you were actually still trying to reconcile him and your sister when they were fighting, right?
Yes, I was asked to support. I was just trying to help what I thought they both wanted.
Did you ever tell her to
I
leave?
was just trying to support, or trying my best to support them the way that I thought I could.
But you never told her to
You
leave
still
the
loved Mr.
relationship.
Depp at that point, right?
I did.
And you didn't think that he and your sister were past the point of no return, right?
What I thought was irrelevant at that point. I
Why?
really,
You're their marriage counselor.
those two were in love and they were working very hard. They wanted to be together, it seemed like. So I just helped as best as I could. I don't know how else to describe it.
Your sister still wanted to be with Mr. Depp, right?
And she loved him.
And you didn't think they were past the point of no return.
I don't know what you mean by that exactly.
Okay. Let's take a look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 1283. It's not yet in evidence. We'll just show that to the witness.
It's insane testimony, right? Like you're the one who mediates disputes between them, but then you're there when he
If I might
beats her
approach, Your Honor, I have
mercilessly
this in redacted and unredacted.
in
Okay.
front of you. I think this is the letter. But you're there when he beats her mercilessly in front of you. You have to rescue her, lock her in a room, keep her away from this monster, right? And then you're trying to get him back together in October, like you're trying to help him out. Who believes this? By the way, while we have this little pause, if you like the stream, please go ahead and click on the like button if you like the coverage and the commentary. It helps out with the algorithmic distribution of everything on the channel, not just this live stream. So I really appreciate it. If you don't like it, please don't click it, but leave a nasty comment about how much you hate me. That would be cool. I appreciate that as well. But yeah, let's how's this witness going for you guys so far? For me, she is an extremely dangerous witness because she's there. She's the one of the only witnesses to physical violence that exists, but I just having trouble selling me on this thing. Her story being so different from hers is not good. Let's see. Okay, where I'm trying to find my spot in the super chats where it was. Romo Drummer, I have a theory as to why Amber mostly. Oh, wait, I read that one. Fadi Aldidi, what are the rule differences for plaintiff and defense between a deposition and testifying live? There's no rule differences for plaintiff or defense. It's all about who notices the deposition. If you notice the deposition, you go first and are on direct exam. The other party's on cross. So that's what matters. It doesn't matter whose witness it is. It's who notices the deposition. Oftentimes they're switched, not always from normal. Lancelot says, isn't that background they use for school photos? Yes. From the other guy.
And Ms. Enriquez, if I could just direct your attention, we can go to the third page, please.
We'll see
Do I
if
have
this
control
is,
of this or no?
No, you do not. Sorry,
Oh, okay.
we'll put it up for you.
this might be the letter from her friend or text
And-
messages. Not sure.
We can go back to the first page if you'd like, or we can take a look at the unredacted version if we need to. But do you recognize these as text messages that you sent to Mr. Depp
These are
on
texts. Okay.
October 2nd, 2015?
Yeah, vaguely. I mean, they're clearly my text messages, but yeah, I recognize them, I think.
Okay. And if we can go to the third page, please, Tom. And you'll see the second blue box from the bottom there. You texted Mr. Depp and you said, I love both of you so much and would fucking stay out of it if I thought this shit were past the point of no return. But that's not where you guys are right now. Did I read that right?
Oh, but that's not where you guys are at. Yes.
So you didn't think they were past the point of no return in October 2015, right?
At that point, clearly I didn't.
Take that down.
Oh,
So you don't think she's being abused then?
You wanted Ms. Heard to stay with Mr. Depp even after you allegedly saw him hit her, right?
that's really oversimplifying something that's far from simple.
Is it?
Again, Amber was very much in love. So was Johnny. She's telling me that she wants something. Whether or not I agreed to it or not, whether or not I was okay with what was happening, it wasn't my place. If my sister said that she still wanted to be with Johnny and if I could help with that in any way, I was going to support her. I was going to be there for her to support that.
Yeah, you didn't want to contradict your sister, right?
Pardon?
You didn't want to contradict your sister.
I don't know if I'd characterize it that way. I was trying to support my sister the best that I could or knew how or thought she wanted.
And you say you wanted to protect her though, right?
At that point, I don't know if I would categorize it as that. I was just trying to support my sister.
You went to Coachella with your sister for her 30th birthday in 2016, right?
Yes.
And you testified that you were aware, I believe that she and Mr. Depp had fought the night before.
You could turn your microphone on, Ms. Bretterhoff. Okay, withdrawn. All right. You can answer the question. Yeah.
Still turn
Yes,
on
I
your
was
mic.
aware that they had argued the night before.
You didn't see any bruises on Ms. Heard at Coachella that year though, right?
Yeah, she was wearing a lot of makeup.
You didn't see any marks on her?
Not that I can recall.
Didn't notice any swelling, right?
To the best of my recollection, I don't.
And your sister didn't have a working phone on her that day, did she?
No, she didn't.
But you did?
Yes, it did.
And you wanted Mr. Depp to know that Ms. Heard's phone wasn't working, right?
I believe I reached out to him for her, yeah.
And you were encouraging him to reach out to her through you if he was trying to reach her, right?
I believe so at one point, yes.
You didn't want him to think that he was ignoring her.
I'm sorry?
You didn't want him to think that he was ignoring her, right?
Sure.
And you wanted them to reconcile, didn't you?
Amber really wanted him there. Despite the fact that they had had a fight the night before, was very complicated. It was very nuanced. You know, they fought, they got back together. They fought, they loved each other. They hated each
Doesn't
other,
sound
loved
like
each other.
abuse. Does
I
it?
just remember her wanting Johnny to come to Coachella at some point. I wasn't trying to reconcile them. I was just trying to help facilitate.
And you did that even though you were concerned about marks that you say you'd seen on her since at least 2013 and during the course of their relationship, right?
Again, that's really oversimplifying something. We all saw this. We all thought that Johnny,
We saw
we'd
this
see Johnny
ATM
on the other
machine?
end of this. Because again, when he was sober, things were wonderful. When they weren't, when he wasn't sober, they were terrible, sure, but we all thought that he was just going to get better. We all wanted to just see the other side of that. So yes, sure, if you look at it simply, but it's not simple at all. I don't know how else to answer it.
And this was after you allegedly saw him hit her, right?
Yes.
And you knew that they had just had another fight.
Welcome
right?
back.
Thank
Yes.
you, sir. What I missed?
Whitney's version of the stair incident is
You know who Jennifer
wildly
Howell
different
is,
from
right,
Amber's.
Ms. Enriquez?
I do.
She's the founder of the Art of Elysium nonprofit.
According to
She
her,
is.
Johnny
And you
punched
worked there
Amber
for a time,
multiple
didn't you?
times in the
I did.
face during the
Ooh.
incident.
Around May 2015, you actually moved
Ooh.
in with Ms. Howell, right?
So different than not just Amber's, but everybody's.
15?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you moved out of the penthouses because at that point you and your sister were fighting, right?
It was, yeah, it was around the time that, you know, he had accused me of leaking stories, and that was the impetus of me leaving.
And you testified earlier, I think, that he had asked you to sign an NDA, right?
At some point.
And that was around the same time that he was concerned you were leaking stories about their wedding to the media.
I believe so.
You and Ms. Howell were close,
We were.
close enough that you lived with her for around a year.
I don't recall if it was that long.
And you confided in Ms. Howell, right?
About some things, yes. She was my friend.
You called her your chosen sister. Ms. Enriquez, you claim to have seen signs of injuries on your sister during the course of her relationship with Mr. Depp, right?
Yes.
But you never witnessed any incidents that resulted in visible injuries to your sister, right?
Other than the staircase incident? I witnessed that incident. What are you asking me exactly?
You never witnessed any incidents that resulted in signs of injury that you were concerned about over the course of their relationship?
Other than the staircase incident, I did witness that.
No, at no other time when you...
No, that was the only time that I saw him.
And you didn't see what caused any of the injuries you claim to have seen during the course of their relationship, right? Other than the staircase incident.
Yeah, staircase incident is the only one that I saw.
But you have seen your sister.
And how much did she pay you to testify that way?
That was the time, yes, after he hit me.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right,
I
redirect.
have no redirect.
All right, is this witness subject to recall?
No, she may be.
Is subject to recall? No.
Afternoon break.
All right, ma'am, you are free to go, or you can stay in the courtroom. It's up to you, okay? Thank you.
This is very interesting. No redirect.
All right.
Our
So there-
next witness, Your Honor, is another deposition designation.
Okay.
It's going to be,
How long is it?
this particular one is about 45 minutes.
All right, while we go ahead and, it's early, but why don't we go ahead and take our afternoon recess, though? That way we can get everything ready for you.
I see a
We'll just
runkle.
take our 15-minute break now, and then we'll come back and have
Yep.
that deposition, okay? So we'll see you in 15 minutes. Don't do any outside research, and don't talk to anybody.
So they got out of the cross quickly. The big impeachment for her comes in the form of that letter that was written. Now, they didn't use that on cross, and there's probably a good reason why they wouldn't try. One, you have to admit the letter, and
So
having
that's
to
45 minutes, and what do you have another,
Yes, then we have another one.
it's another
We have a few- We
deposition?
have a few more.
Okay, so they're both depositions.
Yeah, all the rest of them today are depositions.
Okay, I just want to make
Oh.
sure we don't need
So you're going
any
to try and kill the jury.
items
Yeah.
from that. Okay, that's fine. We'll come back at 3:05 then? Okay, all right, thank you.
So one reason they may not have wanted to cross her on the letters, she didn't write it. So you have to bring it in over a hearsay objection, but it's prior and consistent statements, so that's fine. But she may not authenticate the letter. Oh, I don't recognize this. I don't know what it is. I mean, you've got a hostile witness here. So if they have the ability to get the other person either through calling them in or through video deposition themselves, they can bring her in on rebuttal. I can't remember who wrote the letter. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
No, I missed all of the Whitney stuff. The only thing I knew was that Whitney was the only one that could corroborate the stairs incident, and that there was a lot of other stuff that they wanted to use her for, but I didn't think they would get to it for some of the discovery crap.
Yeah, with the corroboration of the stairs incident, there is a letter written to Whitney by some mutual friend of all theirs, who basically says, you know that you told me this wasn't true, or that this didn't happen, or that you said this thing otherwise. So there's prior inconsistent statements from Whitney in this letter. So I'm not sure how I would assume they're going to try and enter it. It seems to make the most sense. Like I would be pulling that in as fast as possible. But
Well, where's the witness themselves?
Right. And that may be the rebuttal. They may be saving that witness for rebuttal. I don't know. I mean, I can only speculate on what I would be trying to do. But yeah, Whitney was a very dangerous witness because she's the only witness to physical violence alleged that is in this trial. I mean, obviously there's someone at that weird hippie trailer park thing that they did who would have allegedly witnessed the grab, but they didn't call them or have a statement or a video deposition despite knowing their name. And then there'd be the flight attendant, but they didn't call them either, probably because those are really weak stories. But yeah, I don't know that Whitney did a ton of favors here though. That staircase incident was so different. I do not remember Amber testifying at all that Johnny Depp punched her multiple times in that incident.
Well, and then you also get the way that she testifies. Like Josh Drew. So for the morning, they were depositions. I was listening on 2XP trying to catch up. Skipped over most of Rocky's because I thought she was worthless.
Hold on. You're like moving at 2x speed. It's weird. It's like lagging out and then making you go really fast.
Let's try this again. Any better?
Yeah, try one more time. You were good and then it changed.
Okay, so I was trying to listen at 2x speed, trying to catch up. I thought Rocky.
There we go.
I listened to like 5 minutes of that, and it was horrible. I didn't think the jury was going to get anything out of it, so I fast forwarded to Josh Drew. Josh Drew, I mean, the dude's inherently credible, just the way he's acting, the way he's talking. So I thought he did damage to Johnny, but then you watch Whitney take the stand, and she's moving at 100 miles an hour, reading off of a script. I mean, I asked you when I jumped on, when was the last question asked? Like that makes the witness almost inherently incredible.
Right.
So
yeah, your connection got real weird again. Can you try, I hate to ask, can you try disconnecting and reconnecting
Jump
real
out.
quick? Yeah. He was on full robot mode. That was annoying, but it's not his fault, obviously. But gosh, I wonder what the issue is there. Let's see. Stanya Gorez, how many of Amber's friends and family who use Johnny and benefit from him financially are going to testify against him? He was generous to allow all to live at his compounds, and now they turn on him. Yikes, not a good look. Right. And the other unfortunate thing is that does build their credibility a little bit. Sort of. But Andrew Branca suggested, but they don't live there now. So you can go after him that way too. Camden Brewer, it looks like he's posing for his high school picture for the day. Ali Youssef, this guy's sense of self-importance is off the charts. Holy shit. He sounds like a kid from middle school, took an online IQ test and tells everyone he's in Mensa. Yellow Flash 2, this is the kind of simp that brings a hoe the blanket after she's been railed by someone else because she's cold. Yeah, when the sweat starts to dry. Let's see, who else do we have here? Johnny Arbor 07. It's a Murphy Despiel. Amber Heard was doing everyone around her. Well, I don't know about that. Okay, hopefully that clears it up.
all right, third time. Is it a charm?
That's it. That's that magic.
You know what it was?
What's
I had four LexisNexis tabs tabs open.
Oh, yeah, that'll eat up some resources.
just a few.
Okay, so yeah, so tell me about your impressions of Josh Drew, though. You said instantly credible. Did you watch through his testimony, or did you skip
I watched through a bunch of it, and the funny thing is, there's a natural way to the way he testifies. It's not forced, it's not coerced. He seems noticeably like kind of uncomfortable saying some things, which is something you kind of like seeing out of a witness. Like they
Yeah.
don't really want to be there, but they're also not going to lie to you. So I kind of liked the way he testified. I didn't have any problem
Yeah.
with it. And he hurts Johnny Depp's case, but I don't know by how much, because he did testify very openly that there was that 10 or 15-minute window. And he said it repeatedly, you know, I was out of that penthouse for 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but Whitney, man, for the little 2 minutes I saw of her, instantly discounting whatever she said.
Yeah. And it's the problem with Amber Heard's Australia story. It's hyperbolic. I mean, what you're alleging happened is horror movie stuff. I mean, very, very scary. And then you're like, yeah, but you know, I got up and made Johnny coffee the next morning, and everybody on earth goes, wait, what the hell is that? Like, I don't buy that your lacerated feet, you walk down the steps dripping blood out of your genitals to go make coffee for the guy who just did this to you. I'm not there. And then the same thing with the stairs incident from Whitney. You know, this thing is March 2015. She alleges that Johnny grabs Amber by the hair and punches her repeatedly in the face until they're able to get separated. Then she swoops Amber into a room and locks her in to keep Johnny away for the rest of the night. And then in October 15, Johnny's attorney on cross brings up, in October 2015, you're trying to help them stay together. Right?
I mean,
like,
and isn't it funny that they both depict themselves as the heroine of their own story?
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Amber saved Whitney. Whitney saved Amber. But again, it's this crazy. Oh, and she testified that she was basically like a relationship counselor, a mediator between them. And then she says, so you witnessed Johnny hitting your sister, but you are trying to still get them back together. And she's like, well, it's really complicated. It's a nuanced issue. Not for most people. Like, most people are, in my experience, when there's physical abuse, people are like, you need to get the hell out. And the person doesn't take the advice. Like, that's the difference. They don't take the advice. They're like, no, you know, it's not so bad when he's not drinking or whatever. But everybody around them's like, girl, you got to get out of there. You're going to die. And so that was very strange to me. I think it crushed her credibility quite a bit when she told the staircase story.
you want some inside the courtroom info?
Yeah, I want whatever you got.
You do?
Yeah.
I just share. Let me see here.
Okay, let me know when you're ready and I'll pull it up.
Go ahead.
All right, here we go. What's this thing?
That's the jury box.
Oh, okay.
All right,
Well,
so
here. I gotta blow this up on my screen. Just on mine. Everybody else should be able to see. Okay, so Asian male, late 20s, early 30s. Asian male, mid 20s, no mask, no mask, mask. African American Indian female, late 30s, early 40s with a mask. Asian female, lots of masks, lots more than I would expect. 4.
It's interesting, and I can't tell if it's masked because they're actually legitimately concerned for the health, or if it's masked because they kind of intentionally want to not show their face to the different parties.
Right.
So I've been trying to give a breakdown of the demographic. It's probably the youngest jury I've ever seen. Like a lot of average age, a lot of 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
This dude over here hates
Base
Amber.
Polynesian man.
Hates Amber.
Yeah.
When Amber's the witness stand is down here in this corner. So when you see Amber looking at the witness stand, she looks directly over his head, doesn't make eye contact, and looks for these two.
Sure.
Tries to make eye contact there. They've been looking away from her on some occasions, and then she'll go down here to try and find some friendly faces here. This guy she focuses in on, and sometimes her. She doesn't look at him very much because he's the older guy that kind of looks like he wants to murder everyone in the courtroom.
Love that guy already.
Yeah, and then these guys up here, this is our note taker, number one. He's constantly writing notes, doesn't really give a whole lot away. This guy likes to doze off, really checks out during a lot. Now, what's really interesting, though, is when Amber was being crossed, he went ramrod straight and started taking notes, like visibly took the pen off of the cap off of his pen and started writing.
Sure.
And this guy's a tough read as well. But I was on the phone with James, who's sitting next to Runkle in the courtroom. I talked to him during the lunch break, and he said during that first bit of testimony, the Rocky stuff, everyone was zoned out. They didn't want to be there. They were miserable. All the jurors were kind of looking down, away, twiddling with their thumbs. And when they had that sidebar, which I didn't catch, but they had a sidebar apparently, that our friend Polynesian male was openly conversing with the rest of the jurors. One of them popped a little joke and they were laughing in the box, which is kind of odd. It's just not something you see. So it gives you an indication as how seriously they were taking that testimony. They just don't want to be there. They all perked up for Josh Drew, especially our younger Caucasian male. He was pretty intent on that testimony. So that's kind of the breakdown from the morning.
I can't believe they put all the white people in the front. It seems very racist.
They hid the Asians in the back left corner. It was terrible. But so James wanted a shout out because this kid's been giving me insane details. James.
So this is the dude who was sitting. Yeah, he was sitting next to the DUI guy yesterday. Everybody was asking. James.
That's
okay.
him. I talked to him in the line when we were going there. We talked to him for maybe 3 hours. He has a notebook that if one of the teams is listening to this, if the Depp team is listening to this or the Herd team, I don't really care. Give this kid some money and buy that notebook because he has the most notes on this jury that I've ever seen, and he's really been good at it. But his Twitter is James from Court, and he's been jumping out into the hallway during breaks and tweeting what he's seeing. So.
Okay.
Kid created that Twitter account and he had 20 followers this morning, and I called him and he was like, yeah, man, I'm up to 600. And I was like, you want some more? It's like, 'cause I'm going to put you on blast.
James from Court. Well, he's up at 4,416 right now. So there we go. He needs to stop trying to respond to tweets for now, by the way. He needs to.
Yeah.
He needs to stop doing that immediately.
Because
he says, okay, been going back inside now. Sorry, I couldn't respond to tweets. My phone has been literally blowing up. Thank you, everyone. Thanks. Lumber Law and Legal Bites Media. Y'all are my idols. Yeah, you can't sit there and do that. Won't work.
You'll go crazy.
But yeah, okay. So that's very interesting. Did he give you? Runkle gave us some insights at the break about how that Josh Drew testimony went. What did James draw any conclusions that he relayed to you?
No, he just said that they were noticeably more aware. I don't know whether they found him credible or incredible. I think that everyone kind of agrees that of Amber Heard's witnesses, he was the most credible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what Runkle mentioned, that he was, they perked up. He seemed very credible. Runkle had heavily adjusted his thoughts on the case, Johnny's chances of success. I feel like he was overweighting the guy's testimony a little bit, because while he may have been credible, like Amber's still the star witness, and I think the jury has to identify with the party before they're going to go ahead and really rule one way or another. And I think Amber did so much damage to herself that it's in a bad spot for her still.
Yeah. I mean, he backed me off. Watching Josh Drew backed me from 65 to about 60% Johnny.
Sure. Yeah. I can see that.
So.
But oh man. So anything else catching your attention lately? I mean, what else are you observing? I know you were down in the courtroom you were down there the one day, then the next day you guys got sidelined by a bunch of line cutters.
That was so you heard like Nurse Liz had like 12 people come and hold spots for us the entire night, right?
No, I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, Nurse Liz got people that dedicated and donated time to hold 3 spots for DUI guy, me, and Runkle for the entire night. Mm-hmm. They did. We got there. We were number 70 and 71 based on the informal count. I mean, it's like Lord of the Flies in that line.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
We should have killed 2 of them then.
Probably. I mean, I didn't I had a suit on. It was my nice suit. I didn't want to get it like messy, but
Right. Oh man, that sucks. Yeah, y'all's coverage from inside the courtroom is invaluable. Having insights on the jury is critical, because that's the one thing you just cannot get from watching outside is, well, how is anybody reacting? We can all project how we think a juror might react, but that's nothing, because who knows who's on your jury. And how people react is going to be the critical question, because they're the ones who decide the case.
Yeah.
So
you also can't get legitimately stared down by Amber Heard, which is uncomfortable.
She's really pissed that you wrote that, or that you made that video.
That's the only conclusion I'm drawing from it. There's no other reason why she's looking at me for a solid 5 seconds and then turning away and then looking back every single sidebar.
Well, we know they're heavily monitoring and trying to manage the PR portion of this. One of the things, I don't know if you saw at the beginning of the day, but when Amber Heard came in, she gave a very performative hug to Elaine.
Oh my God.
Because you had mentioned something about there being a spat between the two is what I heard. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's what I mentioned based on a court observer. The funny thing is the people that are in court, they don't have the media wherewithal to just broadcast any of this info. That was something that was known by about 3 rows of the people in that courtroom. And it gets told to me like a week or so after it happens. I'm not even sure. And then I make a single comment on Legal Bites stream, and then it's trending on Twitter. And then Amber Heard is giving the most awkward, uncomfortable hug to her attorney that I've ever seen in a courtroom.
Yeah, it was weird. Okay, so they're back in court here. Real quick, Mike the Dad Crosby says Johnny Depp, medical personnel in person, no visible injuries, employees, no visible injuries, officer depositions, no visible injuries. Amber Heard, past personal friends, visible injuries, photographic evidence, minor injuries, if any. I mean, the injuries are very questionable to me. I think if they just on close lay some of those images over each other and say, these are the same image with different colors, that'd be devastating. They need to just do that.
Yep.
Fubar again says, is there going to be any testimony from Amber's makeup artist? Oh, and cheers to Lady Raggets for putting up with you. She deserves all the cheers. I don't know. I don't know who they're going to call.
Makeup artist is on the list. So is the hairdresser.
Yeah. But I think they have like 40 people on the list, and they're not calling all of them. So we'll have to see where they go with it. My understanding was the makeup artist from the Corden show didn't say anything
witness, Your Honor,
about
is
the injuries.
Elizabeth Mars.
That's my understanding as well.
M-A-R-Z.
M-A-R-Z. Thank you.
Elizabeth Mars.
I think this is the makeup artist.
Please state your full name for the record.
Elizabeth Ray Mars.
Between the time that you lived in New York, so let's say 2007, 2008 through 2015, 16, how many times would you estimate that you saw Ms. Heard?
Turn it up a bit.
I don't remember.
More than 4 times?
No.
I have a really bad joke. Your chat's not going to, your chat might appreciate.
15 and 16.
She looks like she's cast in like a 60s porn.
Ms. Pennington.
Like right here.
Yeah, we were pretty close. Pretty close.
In your
like to
previous
ask you
testimony,
some
I'll represent
questions.
to you
See if we can
Courtroom casting couch.
a little
July
deeper.
of 2016, you would communicate with Ms. Pennington weekly.
I don't remember. Maybe at that time, perhaps we were communicating. Like I said, there were moments where we were communicating weekly or daily.
Would agree with me that you would remember something as significant as one of your girlfriends telling you, somebody you've known since Texas when you were young girls, you would remember if Ms. Heard told you that her husband or fiance or boyfriend was beating her. You would remember that, correct? And your testimony is that you only lived at the Eastern Columbia building in February of 2016 for 2 weeks.
It was around 2 weeks. I don't know the
There's no
specific amount
answer.
of time, but it
Some of
was
the
definitely
editing.
a little over 2 weeks, less than a month. And yes,
And when you stayed at the Eastern Columbia building, did you stay in one of the penthouses?
yes.
Okay. And did you understand that that penthouse was owned by Mr. Depp at the time?
I assumed it was, yes.
And for what purpose did you go
Oh, we're losing clothes.
on May 21st, 2016?
Teleporting into
To
and out of
assist
stuff.
Raquel and getting ready for a bead show that she was going to be doing the following day.
Did you ever see
Going
Mr.
to the
Depp
bead show.
be violent towards anyone?
I experienced him that night as I was scared of him. So that's all I can say from the moment that the one interaction I had with him that night, it was frightening to me. His behavior was frightening to me.
No, she wouldn't wear makeup?
I mean, I don't think of her as someone who wears a lot of makeup. No.
Yeah, you've known her a long time.
Right.
She's never been somebody that wears a lot of makeup, correct?
Exactly. Unless she's going to something that she needs to put makeup on for.
Right.
The
But other
editing
than
on this
that,
is
she's
terrible.
usually barefaced and beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's your recollection, your best recollection.
Oh, look at
Miss
that
Pennington
face.
was with you in Penthouse 5 and never left with Miss Heard before Mr.
Can't tell if she's mad or constipated.
Correct.
So you hear some type of commotion. You don't know where it's coming from, correct?
It sounds like, it sounds like it's coming from it. We hear commotion and then it feels like it's getting closer and closer and closer.
Did it sound like voices or did it sound like destruction?
It sounded like voices and destruction.
That the door was abruptly opened, correct?
Abruptly open.
Okay, so you hear the commotion. It feels like it's getting closer and closer. What happened next?
Then, soon after the door slammed open and Johnny came like bursting through the door.
Who opened the door?
Johnny.
Was Johnny alone?
There was the two men behind him.
Okay.
Following him.
So Johnny opens the door. He's got his two,
He
what we'll
burst open the
assume
door.
are his
Get it right.
bodyguards with him. What happens next?
So it all happened very fast. The door kind of burst open and he came in very, just from my perspective, really under the influence of something, drugs or alcohol, because he was very sloppily,
I don't even know when this
he looked
is.
wasted. He was holding a very large bottle of wine, looked like some sort of like a Magnum bottle of wine, which was kind of spilling all over the place. And as he opened the door, what I remember what he mumbled was, "Get your bitch out of here." And I just remember it all happened very fast, like the door slamming, him saying, "Get your bitch out of here," the wine, that whole, his whole being really frightened me. It almost felt like he was coming towards me from my perspective. Whether he was coming towards me or not, it scared me.
I think this is the March 16th,
Past
the
him.
incident in the penthouse.
You said Mr. Depp appeared to be either drunk or high. Is that correct?
He seemed to be intoxicated.
Okay. Is that different than drunk?
No, I guess. Yeah, he definitely seemed like he was under the influence of something.
And on May 21st, 2016, how was Mr. Depp's demeanor different?
It was much more sloppy and all over the place and frightening and combative. Felt very angry. He felt angry. And yeah.
And when you say combative, what was combative specifically about his demeanor?
Just the way he burst through the room, just very forcefully and rushed in very quickly to the point that it made me want to get past him and run out very quickly. Like it wasn't an invite. It was very, it was intense.
Okay. So Mr. Depp comes through the door to Penthouse 5 and you hear him say something to the effect of, "Get your bitch out of here," correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then you ran out immediately thereafter?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see Mr. Depp spill any wine in Penthouse 5 before you ran out?
Yes.
How much wine did you see him spill?
I don't remember.
Some.
A lot? The entire bottle?
Not the entire bottle.
I mean, this is Vasquez crossing her. So these two chicks, you can imagine, hate each other in this
Definitely
moment.
wine that was coming out.
Yeah.
Would you say that being sloppy is different than being combative?
Yeah, I would say sloppy and combative are two different things.
And it's your testimony that Mr. Depp was on May 21st, 2016, both combative and sloppy, correct?
Yeah, I would describe it that there was a little bit of both. Yes,
Some sloppy
but combative
combat?
and sloppy.
Was he more sloppy than he was combative?
It felt more combative than sloppy.
And just to clarify, the only thing that was combative
Didn't
was
she just say the reverse?
the words he was speaking?
No, it was completely the way he entered into the room, rushed in, his energy, the way it felt like he was coming after me, like he almost felt like from where I was standing, it felt like he was charging towards me, and I was scared, and it was.
He's like, she wasn't a police officer. Oh my God.
It felt, combative. It felt. I'm trying to look for another word that can describe what I felt, but it was.
This is the worst acting performance I've ever
It
seen.
was scary. My heart was beating really fast, very quickly, and I was freaked out.
The story is
Okay,
just
so after you exchanged
devoid
some
of
text messages with Miss Pennington, you came out of the
credibility.
hiding spot
Like, doesn't
and
feel
then went to
true at all.
Miss
Like,
Even from the voice and the words and the smiles and the smirks, like
Who
nothing
was
about it.
One, when you got out of the hiding spot and came to Penthouse One.
I mean, it was Josh, Raquel, Amber, and I were the people that were at some point in there during that time.
Do you remember the first time you saw Miss Heard after this incident?
I remember seeing her after that incident, and it was in that apartment.
In Penthouse One.
Correct.
So the first time you saw Miss Heard after this incident on May 21st, 2016 was in Penthouse One. What do you recall seeing, the first thing you saw when you saw Miss Heard?
I just remember she looked really upset and disheveled, and her hair was a mess, and she had a swollen face. She had a red swollen face.
Okay. Had you ever seen Miss Heard cry before May 21st, 2016?
I don't think so. Not that I can remember.
Okay. What side of her face was swollen?
I think it was her right side of her face.
Do you have an independent recollection that it was the right side of her face that was swollen?
no, I'm going
I'm
off
taking
pictures I
myself
looked
back
at.
there and trying to remember like where I was standing versus, you know what I mean? I think it was, I think looking at her, it was on my left and her right side.
Okay. So let's talk about her hair seemed disheveled. Is that what you said? Her hair was disheveled.
Mm-hmm.
Was she crying?
Yeah, there was definitely tears.
Was she animated?
Yeah, she was visibly really upset.
So visibly
Most damning
very
evidence
upset
is that she was crying because we
means
know she can't
what?
fake
She was
that.
crying. Okay. And what else?
Tears, sadness, felt like confusion, felt like those were the main things.
Would you describe? What did Mr. Drew say, if anything?
I don't remember him saying what he said. I think everybody was just shaken up.
So soon after you went into Penthouse One, you remember some police officers coming.
I remember there was police officers in the hallway.
Okay. Was Miss Heard icing her face after the incident, but before the police arrived?
I think so.
Who gave her the ice?
Notice she keeps looking more and more pissed off because Vasquez is just beating her to crap in the depot.
Who gave her the ice? No testimony from ICE from anybody else
No.
at this incident.
So you were in Penthouse
That's a
One
good
when
question.
the police came.
Yeah.
How do you know that they came? What did you hear? What did you see?
Because they said the police are here. So I
Who said
remember.
that?
I don't remember.
She's a
Again,
self-love
this is a very long
empowerment
time
coach.
ago, so
Oh, kill
specific
me.
Details are going to be really hard for me to remember. I just knowing that police were there in the hallway, 2 of them.
And in February, when you lived at the penthouse for a few weeks, you didn't hear or see any abuse by Mr. Depp towards Miss Heard, correct?
Correct.
And did you go to Amber and Johnny's penthouse thereafter, or where did you go next?
So I just remember at some point ending up, yes, at some point we were in their penthouse afterwards, in Johnny and Amber's. At some point we went over there.
And did you go over there, you think, after the police came?
It was after the first 2 police officers came.
Okay. Do you remember glass on the floor?
At this point in time, I don't remember what I saw. I don't remember if it was cleaned up by the time I got there or if there was glass on the floor when I walked in.
Do you recall seeing wine?
If what was
spilled?
cleaned up?
I recall seeing wine spilled in the hallway, like a lot of wine spilled in the hallway.
When do you recall seeing the wine spilled in the hallway?
At some point in the night, maybe after, before. I recall, I don't remember specifically, but I remember seeing wine spilled in the hallway. I remember that being one of the things that I saw that was part of the destruction of whatever happened.
Okay, so the police come and you stayed in penthouse 1.
Correct.
Okay. It was after the police officers left that you went to penthouse 3, correct? Where Amber and Johnny lived?
Correct.
Recall seeing wine spilled in the hallway?
I remember seeing wine spilled in the hallway, yeah.
Okay. And you saw the wine after the police officers came, correct?
I think so.
Did Miss Pennington take any photographs of the scene?
I remember Raquel taking photographs of Amber's face.
Okay. And now going to your description of Miss Heard's face, you said it was the right side of her face. You said it was what, swollen and red? What else?
Correct. Yeah, it was swollen and red.
Was any part of her face more swollen than others?
It was around her eye.
Had bruising developed already?
No, it was red and swollen.
Okay. So you did not see any bruising on Miss Heard's face the evening of May 21st, 2016, correct?
I saw a red, swollen, puffy face.
Okay. And
Puffy
just
face.
on the right side, correct?
Correct.
But wasn't it your testimony, Ms. Mars, that you were inside penthouse 1 when the first police officers came to the scene?
Correct.
And how much time do you estimate they spent in the penthouses?
I don't remember. The second group of officers, there was 2 sets of officers that came. The second set of officers that I actually
Wait, penthouse
was in
1.
the apartment in PH3, I think it was.
Did you hear about
Isn't that the setup?
either Ms. Heard, Mr. Drew, or Ms. Pennington cleaning anything that Mr. Depp allegedly destroyed?
I don't remember, but I do remember that I'm pretty sure that Josh was helping to clean up before I got into I remember that knowing that the place was cleaned up before I entered in there.
Before you entered into where?
Into the main apartment.
So you recall Josh, Drew cleaning up before you entered penthouse 3. What was he cleaning up exactly?
I just remember by the time that I had gotten into that apartment that someone had cleaned up the glass and the wine that was on the floor.
Do you recall who told you that penthouse 3 had been cleaned up?
No one specifically told me. It was, what I was expressing is that it was cleaned up before I got there for the most part. I just remember that for the most part. From what I don't remember.
To clarify, Ms. Mars, when you came into penthouse 3, after the police officers, the first set of police officers came and left, you did not see silver candlesticks, candelabra sticks, broken on the floor, baskets of fruit that had been on the kitchen island, fruit everywhere, baskets on the ground, containers holding the spoons and forks, kitchen utensils spilled, a lamp, a little statue thing broken in penthouse 5. I'm sorry, penthouse 3.
Now that I'm reading this, I'm sort of remembering that there was like some stuff that had like something that had been broken, like a little like the statue thing kind of sounds familiar to me now that I'm reading this. But again, I don't remember when I walked in if there was, and I don't remember this being on the floor. I don't remember seeing.
Okay. So you don't remember seeing it?
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it. I don't remember. But again, as I'm reading this statue, when I see the statue, I kind of, there's something that's like, oh, maybe, yeah, I feel like I remember there was some things that were broken, but I don't specifically remember what they were.
You did not witness
I
firsthand
didn't
what?
firsthand anything. I didn't witness firsthand Johnny abusing Amber.
But do you recall testifying to that effect, that Johnny charged at you and then you were scared?
He charged towards me and I was scared. I ran past him.
You didn't run past him because he told everyone in that penthouse to get out of his penthouse?
I ran past him because he ran into the unit and it scared the shit out of me because he was wasted and screaming. So that's why I ran out. If there's a grown-ass man coming at you and saying, get your bitch out of here, and swinging a magnum-sized bottle of wine, I'm sure, I don't know what anyone do. I can't say what anyone do, but I ran out.
And will you just remind us what side of Miss Heard's face you recall the marks being on May 21st, 2016?
Wait, so we switched to the other
The right side of her face.
team
Do
now.
you feel indebted to Miss Heard in any way?
The editing on this one is particularly
Have you ever
worse
done Miss Heard's
than
makeup?
others.
You testified today that Miss Heard often, in the times you saw her, would not be wearing makeup. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is it possible in some of those times that she was wearing the type of makeup we ladies sometimes use to not appear as though we're wearing makeup?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell whether or not she was wearing basic concealer or foundation?
Correct.
Talk to me about the loud noises. What did you hear?
Yeah, just
We ladies.
screaming, yelling, doors slamming, commotion.
Could you tell whether the screaming and the yelling was a male voice or a female voice?
From what I can remember, male.
And could you tell where the screaming and the yelling was coming from?
It felt like it was started farther down the hallway, and then it was coming like closer. So essentially, I mean, I don't know, but it could have been the hallway.
And so after you start hearing the screaming and the yelling and the door slamming and the commotion, you testify that Mr. Drew got up and went to the door?
Yeah.
What did Mr. Drew do?
He was
He valiantly protected
kind
us.
of pacing by the door and looking through the peephole.
Does Mr. Drew, to your
And what happened
experience, have experience looking through
And then
peepholes?
the door like burst open and Johnny came charging in and screamed, again, holding the magnum-sized bottle of wine, flailing it around, looked intoxicated, kind of stumbling, and screamed, "Get your bitch out of here," as he ran in my direction. And I was scared. It was very frightening and just scary and unexpected. And so I just darted out past him and ran up towards the pool gym area and hid there.
Prior to the night of May 21, 2016, had a man ever charged at you holding a magnum bottle of wine, screaming profanities?
Objection.
And what was your reaction to this event when it happened on May 21, 2016?
Fear.
Besides the screaming and the door slamming and the wine waving, do you recall anything else about Mr. Depp's actions that evening? During that moment, I guess I should say.
Nah.
Just erratic. I would describe it as erratic behavior.
Was anyone else with Mr. Depp when he charged into Penthouse 5?
Behind him were two men.
What about Ms. Heard?
No,
What about Ms. Pennington?
no.
So you testified that after Mr. Depp burst into the apartment and started charging towards you, that you darted out and hid in, I believe it's a communal exercise area, is that correct?
Yeah, I darted out and went up the stairs and hid somewhere over by there.
Why did he
Why did you
charge
hide?
into this apartment if no one's
I was
there?
scared.
Sorry, say again, why did you hide?
Because I was scared.
What were you scared of?
I just didn't know what he would do. I didn't know what he would do.
This is a big story to try to pull together on clothes.
I'm not even
thinking when you
convinced.
were hiding
I don't even know
in
what
the
the story
communal exercise
is.
area?
Johnny Depp burst in on
don't
her
remember.
alone.
That I was,
For
I just
what?
remember being scared and not wanting to leave that area until like I was clear that I wasn't going to be attacked.
And at some point, did you leave the area?
Yes.
And what prompted you to leave the area?
A text with Raquel, just telling her to come to her and Josh's apartment.
And did you do as Ms. Pennington said and go to her and Josh's apartment?
Yes.
Sitting here today, do you remember what you were thinking as you were sort of coming out of your hiding spot and walking towards the penthouses again?
I think the whole thing was just bizarre, like really frightening and bizarre to me. I don't specifically remember what I was thinking other than like, holy shit, what the fuck just happened, you know? And
I think we're all kind of wondering
is
that
he
right now.
gone? Maybe I was thinking that. I don't remember specifically.
And when you say, is he gone, who's the he you're referring to there?
Johnny.
When you got to Ms. Pennington's and Mr. Drew's penthouse, who'd you see? Who was there?
I don't remember who was specifically there when I first walked in, but throughout the time being in there in that moment, definitely Amber, Raquel, and Josh. And maybe like just by peeping into the hallway, one of the police officers.
When you saw Ms. Heard after you came back down from your hiding spot and you're in Mr. Drew's and Ms. Pennington's apartment, how did she look?
She looked frazzled and just completely disheveled. Her hair was all over the place. She had a swollen face, looked like she had been crying, and yeah.
Oh my God!
Do you think the swollen face was a result of her having been crying?
No.
What do you think it was a result of?
It looked like she had been like hit in some way. Like it was not from crying. She had markings on her face.
How many people
Were
have
the
you
marks
seen
that
who
you
have been
saw
hit?
in Ms. Heard's face after you came down from your hiding spot present when you had been hanging out with her earlier in the day?
No.
You testified earlier today that you witnessed some, I believe it was Ms. Pennington or Mr. Drew, take some photos of Ms. Heard's face. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I'd like to mark what will be Mars Exhibit 13. Ms. Mars, as the court reporter hands you Exhibit 13, I'll represent to you that these were some photos taken on the night of May 21st, 2016. So if you turn to the second photo in the set, do you recognize the person in this photograph?
Yes.
Who is it?
Amber.
And do you see any marks on her face in this photograph?
Yes.
And do these marks look like the marks that you saw in person on her face on the evening of March 21, 2016?
Yes.
And just to clarify, these marks were not on her face when you saw Ms. Heard earlier that same afternoon and were helping Ms. Pennington make beads.
Correct.
There are other photos in this set. Why don't we turn back to the first one? Some broken frames on a bed. Do you know?
They're not broken.
picture
Oh, this
is of?
drives me nuts. None of them are
Yeah,
broken or
this
even
is
cracked.
Amber and Johnny's bed, and there's photographs on it.
So I take it that you've seen Amber and Johnny's bedroom before.
Yes.
Do you recall
In what
whether you went
capacity?
into Mr. Depp's and Miss Heard's bedroom that night?
No.
No, you don't recall, or no, you didn't?
No, I don't recall.
The next photo on the set is the picture of Miss Heard. Just after that, there's a photo, you're with me, of what appears to be a hallway. Are you with me?
Yes.
Do you recognize what this is an image of?
Yes.
What is it an image of?
It's the hallway between all the penthouse apartments.
So you've been on this hallway many times.
Yes.
Do you see the sort of red staining on the right-hand corner of the page?
Yes.
Do you recall seeing that red staining the night of May 21, 2016?
Yes.
And what was it?
It was wine.
So you saw that staining on the night of May 21, 2016?
Yes.
Do you recall whether it was there when you arrived in the afternoon?
I don't remember seeing it, no.
So when was the first time you remember seeing it?
I think when I came out of my hiding spot and came downstairs back into the
I think they just brought her on to say hiding spot as many times as possible.
But you didn't see the wine get spilled.
Not this, no.
You saw other wine get spilled?
I saw, yeah, as he was, and when he came in the apartment, when he was flailing the wine.
And the he there is?
Johnny.
Then the last photo in this set appears to be of some picture frames hanging on a wall. Do you see that?
Yes, I think it's in Amber and Johnny's apartment, I think. But again, I don't remember if it's in her studio. I don't know.
Do you recall seeing this photo in one of the penthouses before?
Yes.
And when you saw it, was it broken?
No.
And what, if anything, do you remember about Miss Pennington's state?
Also, distraught, upset.
You'd been friends with Miss Pennington for many years at that point, correct?
Correct.
Had you ever seen her similarly distraught?
Not
Once.
similarly, but seen her sad.
We ran out of life cereal.
But have you ever seen her have the same reaction that she had that evening?
No.
So you also testify that you saw Mr. Drew in his and Miss Pennington's penthouse. What, if anything, do you remember about Mr. Drew's state?
I just remember him being just a grounding energy, just trying to be supportive to Amber and to Raquel, and just really trying to be like the man in the situation that was going to like really be grounded amongst like women that were sort of like frightened and sort of a little more frantic. He was very grounded and very like clear, and I remember like feeling safe with him. Like it was like protection.
You testified earlier today that, quote, there are some things that I really remember and some things that are a little shady, end quote. Which bucket do the marks that you saw on Miss Heard's face on the
I really remember those.
2016 fall into? The things that were a little shady, or the things that you really remember?
That I really remember.
We've done that like with 4 different witnesses. Like, how are you allowed to bolster
Your
that
Honor,
like
is
that?
Melanie Iglesias, and that is
How many
also
more- how many
by
more witnesses
video.
are
And I
they
will
gonna
say
call?
that begins with Ms.
Uh,
Vasquez questioning first, and then.
Okay.
then
I don't know how many more today,
If you
Tom.
spell it last
Sorry,
name,
I'll turn you up.
It's
You're quiet.
INGLESSIS.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I had you were turned down in StreamYard. I got you turned up now. I don't know how many they're gonna.
Name and address for the record.
Oh,
My name is Melanie Iglesias. And Ms. Iglesias, what
Whoops,
is your
it's me
occupation?
first.
I'm a makeup artist. And you, in fact, are a professional makeup artist, correct? Correct. When did you
so this is a
first
makeup
meet
artist who
Amber
testified she
Heard?
didn't see shit.
April 2015.
That's why
And
she's
what was the
noticed by the
occasion?
defense here.
Tribeca Film Festival in New York. And were you providing makeup services for her on that occasion? Correct. Okay. And did you become friends with Amber Heard after that? I did. Ms. Iglesias, I'm going to show you what has been marked as exhibit number 7. Do you recognize what's depicted in this photograph?
Yes, I recall seeing this on the kitchen of the penthouse. When you enter, they have a bar kitchenette to the left, and that was there. Yes.
But when you came to the penthouse after Amber had texted you, whether it was that night or the next day, you saw this in the kitchen. Is that correct? Painted?
Lack of foundation.
And so you do recall being there that evening?
I do recall being there. You know, my only concern with all of this is that was it the day before or during another incident? But it says if my text said I was there the night before, then I was there the night before.
Ms. Iglesias, I'm going to ask you to look at what has been marked as deposition exhibit number 9. Do you recognize what is depicted in this photo?
Well, it's a bed. It looks like, I mean, it's a very tight picture of the bed, but it's a bed.
And do you recall seeing this the night of December 15 with the broken part of the bed?
Upstairs, yes.
Okay. And when you say upstairs, what do you mean?
Well, her bed, the bedroom was upstairs.
And the downstairs had the kitchen with the writing. Do you remember where the other property that
Oh, no,
you
so
saw
this lady is
was?
testifying
Was that
for
downstairs or
Amber.
upstairs?
Okay.
The property that was damaged. Was that upstairs or downstairs?
Downstairs.
All right, and just so I'm clear, you recall damage to the bed, is that correct?
And asked and answered.
On December 16, 2015, did you return to Amber Heard's penthouse?
Yes.
And why did you come to Amber Heard's penthouse on December 16?
It was the James Corden show. She had an appearance, so I came back to work.
And when you arrived at the penthouse on December 16, please describe for me what you observed about Amber Heard's face and any injuries.
When I came to the penthouse on December 16 to do Amber's makeup, she had injuries. She had two light, like, I don't know how, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a medical expert. I don't know how I would describe them, but it could have looked like somebody had headbutted her lightly. So she had a discoloration here under both eyes and on the bridge of the nose. And she had what I would call a split lip or something on the lip, like a gash or a split lip.
Ms. Iglesias, I'm going to ask you to look at what has been marked as exhibit number 11. Do you recognize this photo as being Amber Heard's head?
Yes.
Okay. And could you please describe for me what this photo is showing?
It's showing a chunk of missing hair.
And what, if anything, did you observe on December 16 about Amber Heard missing a chunk of hair?
It doesn't look
I
like a
remember
chunk of
this
hair is
because
missing to me.
She showed it to us.
It looks like a swirl, like on the top of the head.
I looked at it.
Okay. And can you describe what is depicted right along her scalp there?
I don't know.
Do you recall that there was some bruising along the scalp and some pus, for lack of a better word?
I don't recall.
Leading.
Ms. Iglesias, I'm going to ask you to take a look at what has been marked as exhibit number 14. Do you recognize the person in this photo?
Yes.
And who is that?
This is Amber Heard.
Okay. And were you just described what you saw on the 16th with respect to Amber Heard's injuries. Does this accurately depict what you saw on Amber Heard on December 16, 2015?
Yes.
Ms. Iglesias, I'm going to ask you to take a look at what has been marked as Exhibit 16. Again, do you recognize the person in this photo?
Yes.
And who is that?
Amber Heard.
Okay. And
I do think it's
does
interesting.
this picture
'Cause I-
reflect the injuries?
I think when the
that
jury
you
looks at
saw
this,
on Amber Heard on December
least when I look at
16,
this-
2015?
Yes.
I don't think that's me. That's just
And
coincidence.
then I'm going to ask you to take a look at one more of those, and that is Exhibit 17.
But
And I'm going to ask again.
when I look
Ms.
at these
Iglesias,
photos,
do
I
you
don't
recognize
see
the person in this
the
picture?
injuries
Maybe to
being
try to move it
described.
along, Is it Amber Heard?
No. And
I
in the
wonder what the-
UK,
Yes.
in the UK, she testifies to seeing
And
one
does
bruise, a
this,
singular bruise, multiple
reflect
times.
what you saw
This time it's two.
well on December 16, 2015.
I mean,
I can only imagine the jury's looking at this
Now,
going,
do you also recall there being an injury to
maybe
Amber Heard's lip?
Correct.
And Ms. Iglesias, I'm going to ask you to take a look at exhibit number 19. And do you recognize the person in this photograph as Amber Heard?
Yes.
And does this picture accurately reflect what you saw on Amber Heard on December 16, 2015?
Yes.
Ms. Iglesias, could you please describe what you did by way of makeup to prepare Amber Heard for the James Corden show on December 16, 2015?
Yes. We covered, I just did makeup, but just a little heavier where it needed. So we covered, the discoloration, the bruises with a little slightly heavier concealer. One that has a little more of a peach undertone, which I would normally don't use on Amber, but peach to cancel blue. So I did that under the eyes. And although Amber always, has a red lip, is one of the signature look, I remember clearly talking that we had no other option that night, but then to use a red blood, like a really red lipstick to, make sure we could cover up the injuries on the lip.
that's not how
And
lip injuries
were
go.
you able to
though.
cover all of the injuries with the makeup that you applied and as you just described?
Yes.
Ms. Iglesias, if you could look
If
at
the lip
what has been
doesn't
marked
get
as exhibit
more
number
red
22, do you
or less-
recognize Amber Heard in that picture?
Yes.
Okay. And is this the picture of her? Is this a picture of her that evening,
I'll be right back,
December
gentlemen. Gotta
16,
go to the bathroom.
2015 on the James Corden show?
Yes.
What, if anything, did you
Thank
observe?
God he's
on
gone.
the
Am I right,
difference
chat?
in Amber Heard's
Am I right?
demeanor before the show and then on the show?
That she had the ability to, turn it on, that she, the ability to do her job and perform how she was supposed to perform on the show.
And prior to Amber going on the show and while you were working with her on her makeup, how would you describe
Tommy
Amber's
made the chat very mad.
mood and demeanor?
Angry,
Oh, chat-
sad, a little
Chat loves me.
erratic, I think through waves of emotions,
Do you recall someone named Ms. McMillan having any role in helping to prepare Amber Heard for that James Corden show that night, December 16?
Yes.
What do you recall?
Samantha was a stylist. Samantha was there the day of the James Corden show, as she was always there to get her ready before an appearance or show.
And did Samantha work on Amber before or after you were applying the makeup?
I don't know if she worked on Amber, but when I entered the Penthouse 5, Samantha was there with Amber. So Samantha was there before I entered the penthouse.
And do you recall whether Samantha was hugging Amber when you came in?
I recall opening the penthouse. So there's two penthouses. There's a penthouse where she gets ready. So Amber at the penthouse where Samantha gets her ready, where all Amber's clothes is. If I recall properly, that's the penthouse that I enter first, just to say hi before I would go set up in the other penthouse. And my recollection is to when I enter, Amber was crying, looked pretty upset on Samantha's shoulder, or they were like, I don't know if hugging is the right way, but they were definitely had a moment where they were together, and Amber looked really upset.
Ms. Iglesias, I'm going to ask you just a couple more questions about the makeup that you applied on Amber on December 16, 2015 for the James Corden show. I think you said that you had applied some concealer and that you had some peach undertones with it to cancel out some blue. Did I hear that correctly? I was asking about, I wrote down that you said
There
that
are
you
3
had
total
applied
women on the jury, and none of them wore makeup.
concealer. You had some peach undertones to cancel blue. Is that what you said? So what type of concealer did you apply to Amber? And if you use different color tones, can you please describe why you used the color tones you did?
I used a different kind of concealer that I would normally use on Amber, which I used a concealer that had peach undertone. Peach undertone concealer are more effective to cover any darkness of blue undertone than a normal concealer.
Okay.
Do you know what type of makeup Amber Heard typically wore?
Objection,
Can you please describe?
Yes, she's pretty natural. She has a concealer from a company called, she used to have a concealer from a company called Cloudaven. Her makeup would be pretty simple, concealer and a little benefit tint that she used on her lips and she used on her cheeks. Very natural.
It had a natural look to it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. But there was,
I'm going to call
she did
bullshit
wear
on that cheek.
concealer and what you described, correct?
Do you mean in her daily life or that night?
In her daily life.
Yes, she has a concealer that she uses all the time, and she has a couple of products that she uses all the time, daily, yes. Well, I mean daily, yes, as far as I know.
And do you feel confident in what you described that you saw that day of Amber Heard's injuries? And I'm talking about December 16, 2015.
1,000%, without a doubt. Because I just don't remember, you know, it's 5 years ago, I don't remember the exact date.
And could you describe Amber Heard's demeanor in those days before and
What's the
after
jury makeup? How many males versus females on the jury?
violence restraining order?
3 females,
an area
the rest
of
men.
different emotion,
Two of
you know, from,
two of somebody will be
I mean,
alternates.
definitely
What age?
sadness
Are they
to
older,
not
younger?
was to
I'm
be
just gonna
Mostly
have to-
younger.
anger,
Yeah.
to being really upset, to being really sad. So it was just a roller coaster of emotion that I think we were all there those couple of days to help navigate and go through it.
I take it from your response today, you still feel very emotional about this. It's very difficult for you, isn't it?
It's not difficult for me, no, but
Then why were you crying?
Remind me at the time how I felt. Yes.
When did you first tell Miss Heard that you
Back to Camille, thank God.
Yep,
were no longer interested in having her as a client and being friends with her?
That phone call.
Which
About a
phone
month
call?
ago.
How was it said?
Well, I just told Amber that, you know, I wish her well and I just have no interest in continuing a relationship, whatever.
Why?
Work-wise or friendship-wise.
But is there a specific reason other than the birth of your child and the postpartum issues that you described, both as a client and Ms. Iglesias? What was your impression of Mr. Depp when you first met him?
Lovely.
You thought he was lovely?
Yeah.
Was each of the, well, let me ask the backup question. Did you interact with Mr.
Nobody
Depp?
is still
How many
Amber
times
Heard's
did you interact with Mr. Depp?
friend.
Through, you mean all in all?
Oh, yes. The entirety of your interactions. How many were there? Approximately.
5, maybe less than 10. Maybe, yeah.
And would you describe all your interactions with Mr. Depp as, quote, lovely?
Yes.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp act in a violent manner?
No.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp yell at Miss Heard?
No.
Did you ever see him kick Miss Heard?
No.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp throw an object at Miss Heard?
No.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp slap Miss Heard?
No.
Punch her?
No.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp kick Miss Heard?
No.
Is it fair to say, Ms. Iglesias, that you never saw Mr. Depp be physically abusive towards Miss Heard?
Correct.
And you never saw Mr. Depp cause any injuries to Miss Heard, correct?
Did I ever saw him causing any injuries? No.
And so any injuries that you claim to have seen on Miss Heard, you don't know one way or another how they were caused, correct?
Correct.
The only source of information that you have is Miss Heard's own words, correct?
Correct.
Did you hear Mr. Depp and Miss Heard having a fight on the phone?
I was there. I was present in the room.
But just to confirm, could you hear Mr. Depp's voice?
No.
So fair to say that the only voice you heard was Miss Heard's, correct?
Correct.
And so you don't know what Mr. Depp said to Miss Heard on that phone call, correct?
Correct.
Do you recall any other occasions where you witnessed a fight between Mr. Depp and Miss Heard, or heard about an incident or a fight between Mr. Depp and Miss Heard, other than the 3 that we've now discussed?
I would say every time. I would say that during my friendship with Amber, before she filed for divorce, which, I mean, timeline, I don't know, a year, maybe a year and a half, it was always some conflict, some fight, some physical fights, some verbal fights, some kind of problem, it's always was a problem, a problematic. It was a very consuming.
Sounds like just a lovely relationship that everyone wanted to keep
It
them
was
in.
all consuming about that relationship. It was a very consuming friendship, and hence that's why I decided not to continue it.
But you yourself, Ms. Iglesias, didn't witness any of these altercations, fights, arguments, correct? Between Mr.
Correct.
Depp. I think you testified that you interacted with Mr. Depp less than 10 times. When you did interact with Mr. Depp, was Ms. Heard present each of those times?
All of those times.
Did you find him particularly loving towards Ms. Heard?
No, not particularly, no.
And during these interactions with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard, at that time, you were aware that Mr. Depp allegedly was abusing Ms. Heard, correct?
Well, most of the interaction that I had was towards the end of 2015, right? I'm assuming, so I was not fully aware yet of, I guess, the seriousness of the fight, if I can say so. I think, most of the time I saw them together was towards the end of before December 15. So Thanksgiving, that time, and Amber's, I think, birthday, I'm getting it to the date. So the few times that I saw Mr. Depp was before I understood the seriousness of the fight.
Understanding, again, came from Ms. Heard only, correct?
Well, Ms. Heard and some of her friends, yes.
Who were some of her friends?
Rocky, Rachel Pennington, Io, Twillett, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Josh, Drew, the people that were leaving, her sister, Whitney. Those were the core group.
You said you spent Thanksgiving with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard. Was that in Thanksgiving, November 2015?
Yes, correct, because they were divorced by May 2016, so yes.
Oh God, kill me.
How would you describe that evening?
Awkward,
Why?
because Marilyn Manson was there?
Did you know Marilyn Manson?
No, but this was an awkward Thanksgiving sitting there. It was quite intimate. So sitting, yeah, it was just awkward. He's just an awkward being, and it's just awkward to be around. So it was, it was an
Yes.
awkward evening.
Do you recall Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard having any type of disagreement or fight that evening?
Disagreement, maybe, like a disagreement.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, there was, it was such a small, intimate surrounding that you pick up on things.
I hate you, Tom.
And so I could tell that it was awkward. It was just awkward. I think Mr. Depp and Mr. Manson disappeared for a while. Then everybody was at the table, so they was wondering where they were. It was just awkward.
And you're pretty sure they had a fight because Ms. Heard told you after the fact that they had a fight, correct? Because you did not witness Mr. Depp or Ms. Heard having any type of fight the evening of Thanksgiving, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Iglesias, do you have an independent recollection of going to the penthouse in downtown Los Angeles on December 15th, 2015?
I have an independent recollection of going to the penthouse before one of the incidents. And at the time, I couldn't recall if it was the day before the James Corden or the day before the phone incident. So and that is what I made sure I needed to remember, that it was the day before.
Tom, are you playing white or black?
Yes. Does that make sense? So I knew I had
He's playing
come
white
a
because he's
day
racist.
before- a day before one of the two biggest fights that, and I wasn't sure if it was that day or that day, but it was December 15th.
And sitting here today, you're still not sure if you went to the penthouse on December 15th, 2015, or if it was the day before the May incident in 2016. Okay. And when you went to the penthouse on December 15th, I believe you testified before that you didn't see any injuries on Amber Heard that evening, correct?
Sorry, I don't recall seeing any injuries on Amber that night.
Do you recall if Ms. Pennington was at the penthouse that evening?
Yes.
Do you recall if anybody else was at the penthouse that evening?
I don't recall.
But you do remember Ms. Heard being there and Ms. Pennington, correct?
Correct.
Check.
You're there. You're quiet. I'll bring
Did you
you
take
up.
any photographs of Ms. Heard?
Oh wait, no, you are up.
The evening of December 15, 2016?
No.
Do you recall being present when any photographs of Ms. Heard were taken on December 15th,